Hello, one and all, and welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It's August the 3rd of 2022, and we are getting back on the road to whatever the equivalent of Viridian City in Unova is. I don't know city names in that generation, so
I don't either.
title.
I feel like the best track from that game was like a Route 2 as well, like Route 4 or some shit like that.
That makes sense. There was I've heard some excerpts of later gen Pokemon games, and there are some really random ones that have banger tracks. So
There's some good tracks in it. I guess we should just really get into Pokemon because now I just need to
Pokemon.
talk about Pokemon Black and White, which you
Okay.
did not play, correct?
I did not. We are, by the way, guys, talking about Pokemon Adventures Black and White. Yeah, it's the 5th generation, the generation where Nick stopped playing. So
Everything here is weird and confusing to you.
not that weird and confusing. Okay. It's like this is still, of course, one of the games where the setup and the mechanics were all still very much, what they had been built up to this point. Since then, more recent games have really started playing around with stuff because, it started off with here's Gigantamax and and Ultra forms, and then it became and you just, play an entirely different game with Arceus. But this one is, we designed a world that's got all these cool locations and cool character designs and stuff. And then we made the game too short. So here's an item to boost your XP because we couldn't figure that out. So that's why I stopped playing.
Excuse me, Gen 5 is notorious for a lot of things, and not being long enough is not one of them.
Not being long enough from location to location where you have to grind your party up.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, it's also the game that had the highest, end cap for where they where the Elite Four started was you had to just grind 10 levels out, which is crazy. All right, so to get into it, I play Black and White. I love it. I think it's maybe my second favorite or maybe third favorite gen. It's kind of tough between that and Gen 1. But I really, really enjoyed Black and White, primarily because I enjoyed what it did differently. I loved going to a gen with no old Pokemon in it at all. Every Pokemon was a new Pokemon, even if they were legally distinctly different. Here's legally distinct Caterpie and legally distinct Pidgey, and
we call it Woobats.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best example. It's completely different. But there's a lot of that stuff, so I really like that. I thought that having a real story in a Pokemon game was pretty cool. There was an actual interesting narrative going on. The gym leaders were actually important characters. It's weird. I don't recall because it's just been so long. I don't recall what the actual individual gym leaders do, but when I see them, I'm like, that is a Gen 5 gym leader because I remember their design showing up multiple times. Whereas gens 6 through 8. Every gym leader is interchangeable to me. I was just I don't even remember what this thing is. Sure, yeah, whatever. You're a water type gym leader, I guess. Whatever.
I'm not wearing a shirt. That's how you can tell.
Yeah. And there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. But there was this weird issue at the end of Gen 5 where you would get introduced to a couple Pokemon, and then the Elite Four happened, and all of that seemed to happen as though there was 10 levels of additional content planned, because you could catch Bravery and Volibee there, or they're evolved for Rufflet and whatever the other version is, the Vulture Pokemon. You could catch them, but they didn't evolve until level 56 or some crazy horse shit like that. It was really high up there, so you had to just grind to get them up there. And then you could catch Dino in the Victory Road, and you're like, cool, I can't wait to evolve this super awesome fucking Pokemon. And I think Dino itself doesn't evolve until like, oh god, I have to like remember this. It's like level 50 or something, and then it doesn't evolve to Hey Dragon until like 65 or some shit like that. It's something like way out there where you're just like, I'm sorry, how long do I have to fucking raise this motherfucker before it becomes something cool? It's brutal.
Level 64.
Yeah, it's too much. I mean, at least in my mind, I was worried. I was like, God, you didn't have to go into like the 70s for it, did you? But it was like, it did feel like really far off to actually get it up that high.
It has its heads. It has mouths in its hands.
Yeah, it's got the whole world in its hands.
Bah!
Good stuff. Anyways, good stuff there. But we're talking about the Pokemon Adventures manga based off this franchise. And it's interesting because every Pokemon gen has had it to this point, even spin-off gens, like, you know, not spin-off, but like sequel gens sort of the stuff. And they've always kind of had to operate in a world where there's like vaguely a plot line, like we have to stop Team Magma before they pull the land or water. I feel
what was their stupid plan again?
We have to stop Archie. Is what we're getting now. We got or Maxie. I don't. One of the two. We gotta stop them. Whereas this gen, there's actually like a full-on story with N and Gestis being the one controlling N, secretly behind the scenes, and T Plasma wanting to liberate Pokemon, and it's interesting seeing like the story of the Pokemon manga have to adapt to that, but also still be like, all right, but I'm still gonna tell my own wild shit, but then also be like, I have to tie in all the game stuff. And this is another one of this generation where there's so many fucking legendaries. Like, you can see the manga scrambling to just fucking cram them all in. Like, I don't know, Genie showed up too. And also, the Three Musketeer Pokemon are also here. And don't forget Genesect. Genesect also is a thing. Like, fuck, man. So many of these goddamn legendaries this gen. Melowoto gets their own chapter. Don't forget that.
And, wait, she was... Melioda's a legendary?
Yeah, or mythic, I think, technically.
Jesus Christ. I just thought that was a cute little side story thing.
Yeah, Melowoto was a legendary at least Pokemon. I think they
okay.
Mythic.
I thought it was a nice little story, but all right. The story of Black and White in the manga is, of course, you know, we're following a Pokedex holder named Black. And at the start of the story, White is not a dex holder, but she gets one later. Instead, there are two other dex holders, which are Bianca and Sharon, which, of course, if you've played Black and White, you're familiar with them. They're your two friends / pseudo rivals through the game. And Black is, I would say to someone unfamiliar with other than like early Pokemon, Black is like, reminds me the most of Ash from the anime out of any of the protagonists we've had so far, even more so than Red, who is, you know, just a different version of the same character. Because Black's whole thing is like, oh, he's always dreamed about being the champion of the Pokemon League. He will just, at different intervals, just get up on a hilltop and just shout that he's going to win the Pokemon League, and it's just this big thing that annoys everyone around him. And one of the first things that happens to him on his journey is that he gets indebted to his female traveling companion because he breaks some stuff. So, White has a very different, for a protagonist in this series, starting point. She is the president of a Pokemon talent agency. It's a cute and kind of fun little idea, which is that, hey, in this world of Pokemon are used in advertising and entertainment and stuff. So obviously someone needs to be an agent for them and represent them and stuff. And so that's what she does.
And this is a region based on America. So of course, you know, entertainment, that's our main export.
It's a big one, definitely. So, you know, it's a way of doing
entertainment is the Batgirl movie, in which case that is not being exported. that is being the opposite of exported.
Just can't get any like female superheroes projects going. As Powerpuff Girls is on what, the third rewrite now or something like that.
I forgot about that.
Of course. So, Black, while he's starting off his journey, he breaks some like equipment for some project that she's working on, and so she gets mad and is like, you're gonna have to do something to pay me back. It turns out that he has a Pokeboo as his starter, and she just so happens to have agreed to do a shoot for this agency that needs a male and female Pokeboo. And
to be very clear.
Sorry.
You're good.
I actually started off Gen 5 with Japanese names, so I actually do get those mixed up a bit.
Oh, no, you're good. I just want to be clear.
Pokeboo, and it was Mijumaru was Oshawott. Mm-hmm. And, oh, God, Snivy had a really weird name, but I can't remember at this point. Anyway, anywho, so she's like, okay, you've got a Tepeg. I'll agree to erase some of your debt if you have it be part of this scene. And so they start working together. And at first it's like, well, I guess I kind of have to do it because I'm a good guy and I'm not going to run off on this debt. But then they become good friends, and they become good friends pretty quickly. It's actually very sweet.
They have, I think, actually a pretty endearing relationship because it does go through like peaks and valleys. Like they do start off as like you're here because you messed up, but instead of making it like this weird contentious thing, you're actually okay working with me, and I actually then operate as a respectful boss and things like that. And they have like conflicts and things like that, but they do eventually have these moments of like, oh, these people do care about the fact that they are trying to essentially support each other's dream, and this is a very important thing in the world of the Pokemon Adventures manga. Everyone needs to support each other's dream.
That's a big thing. In this particular series, is people have dreams and stuff, which I guess also fits. Unova is the U.S. kind of thing, because that's sort of the big thing that the United States likes to purport itself to be, is the place where dreams can come true. It is really nice to see them bounce off of each other because they're both trying to accomplish their own things, but when their goals come into conflict, they very quickly work stuff out. It's one of the things that I believe that it was kind of a point that got brought up, was that the protagonists of Black and White are a bit older than the protagonists of the other generation games. So I guess it kind of makes sense that they, can take a more mature approach to these kinds of issues. Because, Black's trying to do his Pokemon journey and stuff. And there is a point, like, for example, where his Tepig is going to evolve, and White thinks, oh no, if that happens, then we won't be able to have our, cute boy and girl Tepig act to sell to different people. So she actually is like don't let him evolve and stuff. But stuff happens, and he's got to win this important gym battle, and Tepig evolves into Pignite, and which is, of course, it's no longer this cute little fire piglet. It's this big, rotund, now part fighting Pokemon. And White just immediately rolls with it, and it's like, okay, yeah. we'll just have a different image for the two of them. It'll be, the cute little Tepig girlfriend and the cool strong guy boyfriend Pignite, and then we'll just do it. And the longer that they go on, the more that they support each other in what they're trying to do. And Blackline makes this big promise, like, well, I'm still going to go on my Pokemon journey. I'm still going to conquer the Pokemon League, but I'll wear like your logo for your company when I'm in the finals. And so that'll help you to accomplish your dream. And it's very nice. And that's like the first third of the Black and White storyline. And then White doesn't do much more beyond that.
It's an interesting pacing because the series goes for a decent enough chunk of them working together, going off on small adventures. We, I guess, haven't mentioned the main gimmick of Black is that Black is a dreamer. Their dream of winning the Pokemon League is so intense that he is often paralyzed by dreaming of it so much. So he has, I forget the name of it, Mushran or whatever, the Dream Eater Pokemon.
Muna, and then Musharna. Yeah.
And his Muna will literally eat his dream of going to the Pokemon League so that he can, like, think clearly, in which case he goes into like a hexagonal like detective mode to figure out what Pokemon is mysteriously fucking with him. It's like almost like a JoJo series at points.
It's a very shonen sequence, like because like the thing gends on his head and he recites the same thing every time. It was like, oh, the blacks become white or something like that. And then he zooms in and he's like, I see it. I see what's going on here. And he'll solve the puzzle. So
Yeah.
it's
So that's how the series operates for like the first like I'd say third of it. And then we start introducing N into the plot line, and N just fucks everything up, like in a good way. N's like, "Hey, I'm gonna fuck with your worldview, and I fuck with your status quo because I like." He has a confrontation with White on a Ferris wheel, and he's just like, "You don't actually know what your Tepig wants. Like your Tepig has seen other like Pokemon fight and wants to, and you're forcing her to be in competitions and acting things."
It's an important note that at the start of the series, White is not a Pokemon trainer at all. She does not participate in Pokemon battles. She is purely a talent agent, a manager, and she keeps her Pokemon out of battles because she doesn't want them getting hurt because they're the talent. And they're not even her Pokemon for that point. She doesn't have Pokemon of her own. She's just like, these are my company's Pokemon, and I'm taking care of them.
Yeah. So it's this moment of N being like, you don't even understand. So she's like, I need to get away from this guy. This guy's dangerous. So she literally leaps out of the fucking Ferris wheel, which is a metal move. Yeah. And she's like, Tepig, hurry. And Tepig's like, no. And just joins up with N. And you're like, what? That's pretty crazy. And like, you get some interesting stuff. Cause like a fallout to that. And then they're like, oh, wait, the battle subway was a mechanic. So...
Go take care of that, White.
And White has like apparently an incredible off-screen fucking like training arc. You get to see like the start of it and the very end of it, where she doesn't win in either of them.
No.
And then after that, she just kind of, I don't want to say she's just there, but Black takes a central role as the protagonist. It turns out he is not. I should say turns out he takes on the role of the legendary hero of truth. It's this very big thing. Like Reshiram, one of the key legendary Pokemon, respects him. Like this is an important character in the plot. His truth, quote unquote, is literally what has to be there to fight the ideals of N for the life of this nation as a whole. And White is like, I think she works for like the FBI or something briefly.
Kinda.
Like sort of
by accident. Like
she just kind of ends up being present throughout it, which is a bit of a bummer. It seems like there was something they could have done that would have been a little bit cooler with her in that story as it is. But that's ultimately what happens to her.
Yeah. Black is definitely like the core focus of this series. Probably the one that gets the greatest share of the focus of any, like dual protagonist storyline that there has been in this series to this point. Because like I guess Red got more focus in the red and green part of the story, but like that was different because it started off with just him as the protagonist, and then Blue was his rival, and then Green comes in later, or depending on how you think of their names between versions, whatever. So, but then after that, it's like, okay, yeah, well, like Gold and Silver and Crystal kind of share it. Ruby and Sapphire split pretty evenly, and then it's split fairly evenly between Diamond and Pearl and Platinum. This one is like, well, here's Black and White, and they're journeying together and doing stuff, and they've got their own different goals. Anyway, White's going over there while Black does all the cool stuff.
Yeah, a bunch of cool things are going to be going on over here.
He's the child of destiny. He's the one who's been entrusted with Reshiram. He's the one who's got to grow as a person. He's the one that all the gym leaders see some great potential in, and they realize like he's the one who can do it, and some of them have doubts about him. Skyla shoots him out of a cannon because she's like, I don't know. The way he rang that bell, it wasn't very good. But now that I fought him, I believe that maybe he could be good. So let's get in the plane together and go and fight Team Plasma. Yeah, Black.
It's
how you doing, White? Well, these twins are being weird. My Pokemon are slightly better, I guess.
I don't want to completely take everything away. I think White has some fun little character chapters. She has an interesting personality. As I said, they didn't make her like obnoxious, and they do give her some closure. And there is some expansion a little bit when you get to Black 2 and White 2, which there's some fun details about that I want to talk to you about once we get there. Because I kind of zapped through it. Like, I didn't have the chance to read the entire thing, but I did some slim pickings. But there's a couple little notes I want to tickle you with. I could have picked a better verb there, but that's what I went with. But as for this series, I thought it did an interesting job of trying to adapt the Black and White storyline, keeping the essential beats to it, and still kind of putting its own stamp on it. Like, it really made Bryson a pretty fucking important character, the ice gym leader, because you're like, I guess I do remember he was an important-ish character in that, but this one he's like half secret agent, half like the last hope. Yeah, you're like he's really like the last hope for the Unova gym leaders at a certain point. You're like, all right, this is kind of interesting. Like, sure.
There's a really funny double subversion that happens with him because like Black joins up with a bunch of the gym leaders and they have this fight with Team Plasma and it doesn't go well for them and like all the gym leaders get captured and Black doesn't get captured because they're like he's just some kid essentially. But then as Black recovers, Bryson comes to him and is like, oh, I escaped. So we've got to go and unlock the doohickey so that we can recover the thing. And so Black's like, oh, yeah, good, because I solved this riddle. So here we go. Here's the secret compartment for where it is. And then Bryson knocks him out because he's not really Bryson. He's a Team Plasma member in disguise. But then it turns out that the real Bryson did actually escape. And he comes over to Black while he's unconscious, and Black wakes up and is like, you're not...
It's a wild trip. There's an entire sequence there where you're just like, I'm sorry, so is this dude evil or not? You're just like, oh, you have to be following along. All the clues. Mr. Policeman, I gave you all the clues.
For the ice user, yeah.
Yeah. It's good, though. And I enjoy some like small moments of like philosophy that get like brought up into the manga and things like that. I said like ideals versus truth is like the major conflict. I don't know if that's necessarily 100% really executed to its full potential. But there was a moment that like hit me kind of hard where like things are looking pretty bad and there's, I forget, the 7 sages or some shit like that. And they're like, well, we got to stop them. And like a bunch of random like trainers they fought throughout the course of the series. Like, we're going to stand our ground here. They're like
the first trainer that Black fought on his journey, who was who was just a total pushover because he couldn't. He always got nervous when someone attacked him with fire. A janitor that was nice to Black one time. Some cook that had some helpful advice. Just all these just random people that you would show up once and you just kind of like write off in your head. It's like, okay, they're gone. They're never coming back. And then they come in for the final battle.
It's so awesome. And they have this small moment where they talk about how like, yeah, we might have kind of all had to individually give up our dreams in the sake of being quote unquote adults. We had to grow up and kind of leave our dreams behind. But we've realized now those dreams are still possible with the potential of Pokemon. And there's like such a ridiculousness to that, but something so earnestly sweet about that sentiment of like almost this intangible magical force that is Pokemon in this world to be like, hey, maybe I never will crack and beat all the gym leaders and go on to the Pokemon League like Hanker Andy wants, but he's like, but as long as I still have my Pokemon, this dream still keeps going. Like, I don't know, something very sweet to that sentiment. And you're like, I didn't expect this in a fucking Pokemon adventure manga. Like, this came out of nowhere.
Those 7 random people do more to help out than the Elite Four do, basically.
They're fighting the genies, Nick. What are they?
Off screen. Yeah. Look, that guy in the mask, he took it off, and he was someone. Yeah. So he was important.
He's important in Black 2 and White 2. Which is unfortunately how a good chunk of this manga ends. You did not on a cliffhanger. You did not read Black 2, White 2.
Nope.
So what was your impression when you get to the end? You're like, well, I guess Black's just dead.
Well, I guess that'll be covered in Black 2 and White 2. That was my reaction. It was, of all of the series that all of the chapters, I guess, of adventure that we have covered, this was definitely the one that felt like it left on the most open note. Because obviously, like Emerald comes directly out of Fire Red and Leaf Green, but there is some stuff that feels like it gets resolved there. Even so, and there are other things like, okay, well, clearly this one legendary Pokemon showed up very briefly, and they'll show up again in the next part of this generation, I'm sure. And there is some of that happens with the four Musketeer legendaries, Keldeo and the other sword guys. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sure that's setting up for a future generation. That's about par for the course for when legendaries that aren't the main focus of the storyline show up in it. But yeah, the bit where it's like, okay, well, it seems like everything's solved, except that Black's been imprisoned in the White Sphere. Like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah, Reshiram turns into the Light Stone again, and Gestis, as his last act of revolution, pushes him into the stone. He's like, I'll be trapped in a stone forever, but White, I always believed in you. And you just finished the manga, and you were like, done and
there
done.
we go. It makes me feel a little bit heartless when you put it that way, I guess.
No, you did great. Iriguri in chat is asking how Bianca and Charon are handled in the manga, and I will say that Bianca is kind of there. She gets like some small side chapter stuff, but not a ton. Charon, on the other hand, is irrelevant for most of the manga, and then has like a pretty significant role towards the end where he becomes like this weirdly cold and heartless Pokemon battler because he's kind of been brainwashed by or Team Plasma, I should say. And they actually do some interesting stuff with
yes.
that.
I will say, to kind of start winding the conversation down a little bit, because we do have a lot of manga to talk about. Mm-hmm. This was like, I did really enjoy reading this chapter. I think that it is flawed. We have gone over that. But at the same time, there are so many moments throughout this story where, even though I think that from note to note, I think it's a bit jumbled. It definitely seems like maybe they didn't know that they were going to have to end it where they did. And so they're like, okay, well, I have to do a Black 2 and White 2. So I better save some of this stuff and put it further forward. And then because of that, some things don't get resolved in the order that they were supposed to be. Maybe that has to do with it. I don't know. But it's not necessarily completely coherent. But there are some parts of it that resonate incredibly strongly. All of the stuff that, you talked about in terms of like the conflict between the truth and the ideal, what is reality, what is versus what is your dream, what can be. The way that that's handled is incredibly poetic and schmaltzy and wonderful. Yeah. The big thing that happens in Black's development is, people are pointing out like, you're always shouting about like your dreams and stuff, and you're always running around without thinking about the consequences. You're putting your dream ahead of everybody else's truth. And then he's the one who becomes the truth. He becomes the sake of what is. But in the journey of doing that, people are pointing out like, okay, this is like your big personality flaw. This is what you're not thinking about. Despite the fact that, like you're so dedicated to figuring things out ahead of time and stuff, you still focusing on the right things. And he has this moment where N just cuts him down completely. The way that N is handled throughout this story is incredibly effective because he's this vacant-eyed young dude who is just so sad at the state of the world, who sees people with Pokemon and their captivity, and he thinks that all of them are slaves who need to be set free. And whenever anyone points out to him, like, you're wrong, like, I mean, maybe there are some Pokemon who feel that way, but my Pokemon don't. And he's like, well, I can hear Pokemon voices and you're not listening to your Pokemon. And it makes me incredibly sad that, this is the way things are. And that's why Team Plasma has to set everyone's Pokemon free, is because people like you don't listen, essentially. And he gets to Black and they have their big first battle, and Black gets his ass kicked uh, by what seem like are much weaker Pokemon, including White's Tepig, who destroys him. Um, and he just says like, "Have you ever like actually tried to understand your Pokemon? Because you were never actually really friends." And like Black's in a desperate situation, and he tries to have his Muna eat his dreams so he can focus and come up with a winning strategy, and Muna runs away instead. And N says, "You were never really friends. You just had a friendship of convenience, and now that's why it's abandoning you." And Black's just completely and utterly defeated, and he wakes up, he blacks out, he whites out like in the games essentially. He wakes up in the hospital later, and people are worried about him and stuff, and he feels like he's like, I've, gone against my Pokemon. I don't deserve to even be a trainer, let alone want to be the champion. But it's his own Pokemon who pick him up because they're there and they still believe in him. They believe in his dream. And when he realizes that, he realizes he's done them a disservice by getting drawn away like this. And it's this huge emotional moment between just him and a fire pig sumo wrestler and a giant electric spider. It's so beautiful. By the way, I love Galvantula. It's so crazy.
It's some good stuff. I gotta say, I do dig it. I guess I'll say in a nutshell before I'll move very quickly on to what I experienced in Black White or Black 2 White 2, which is not a lot, to be very clear. I would say that I like this. I think that this is an enjoyable series, but it is also occupying the weird space of the Pokemon adventures for the part of Pokemon that already has a pretty decent story to it. So, like, I would say if you're, because I really like Unova. I don't know if this is the part I would most highly recommend, not because it's like a quality against it, but I would say like, I don't know, man. You could just play the game and get a very similar story for the most part. So I might just almost recommend that. But if you don't want to play the game and you want to experience at least some aspect of the story, I think this is a good way to go.
By the way, when they do the Pokemon League tournament towards the end, and they're trying to suss out who the traitor is, I just kept on looking at that kid in the dinosaur overall pants. I was like, no one would really wear those. No, I don't trust him.
You must have spider legs or something like that, and you're hiding them in those big like costume pants or whatever.
And it turns out the suspicious people really were the suspicious people.
It turns out Madam Evil and Masked Person Man were the bad guys all along.
Looker was right. What the fuck?
That's horseshit. So just real quick on Black 2 White 2, I did not read through the whole thing. I basically skimmed it kind of real quick because I was running out of time. It is essentially a continuation, and it answers a lot of those things. Hey, it turns out Black isn't dead forever. He gets to jump back.
What?
It also handles, I guess, portions of the story of Black 2 White 2, which I never played, unfortunately. It's like the only mainline Pokemon game I never touched. So it handles a couple things there. Also, we didn't even mention how Chili, Cress, and Salon are actually given more to do in the manga than they are in the video game. In the video game, they're the only gym leaders who don't do shit because their gimmick was dumb.
Because they were triplets, right?
Yeah. Here they get to do something. I don't know what. They beat up like the Dark Triad or some shit. I don't remember where those characters showed up, and they do that.
It's an awesome sequence because then the four Musketeers show up and save the day and stuff, and they legitimately looked really cool in it. And I was like, "Oh, these guys are awesome." I'll bet that they suck in the games.
Yeah. But we are introduced to our three new protagonists, I should say. Two main characters, the player characters, and there was a new rival in the game. Nick, based off the logic, what do you believe the character names of the two new protagonists are?
I actually did bother to look them up. But I knew this part ahead of time. So I looked them up, and they're Blake and Whitley, which is like, all right. But in the original Japanese, I knew this because I was curious about it way back when the that this part of the story was coming out. In Japanese, they're called Blatu and
Yeah,
Waitu.
yeah, they are 100% just black 2, white 2, basically, which is fucking awesome. Like, black 2, come back here, white 2, watch out. It's fucking funny. You gotta stretch yourself, so you gotta commit to the bit sometimes.
Yeah. Apparently, the protagonists of X and Y are just called X and Y.
Sure, go for it, man. I'm excited for that when we get to it. The premise basically being that White 2 is like a former member of Team Plasma who kind of left and is kind of trying to find N all around. And then Black 2 turns out to be a secret agent working for Looker.
Okay.
Like, so they're part of whatever, I forget the foundation. So it's kind of interesting. You have this scenario of like these two characters working together where one of them is part of the group that the other one is trying to hunt down. Or
right.
It's there's an interesting dynamic going on there. And then the rival character just hates all Team Plasma people, so they're hunting them down. It's decent. It's only like 30 chapters.
Okay, so they're silver. All right.
Yeah, pretty much. There are only like 30 chapters to it. It's a pretty short little bit, 35 chapters or so. So it's not too terribly long. Unfortunately, as I said, I didn't get the chance to like read it too in depth. So I don't know if that was like a place where they really salvaged White's character or not. She is in it. I do know that. But I also know that these parts usually tend to put more focus on the new protagonist. So I imagine even if she does have a lot to do, it's probably in a backseat to Black 2 and White 2, which are the best names. It's the best.
And on that note,
because they introduced it like, we got a new student here. What's your name? White 2. I was like, I'm sorry, fucking what?
So yeah, I guess to give an overall summary, fun, but kind of flawed, and I guess that we can chalk up maybe that to it adapting a story that was already pretty completely told. So I guess next time when we have Team Flare to deal with, maybe...
I can't even remember what team... I think they just wanted money or something. I don't even fucking remember.
Maybe it'll be crazy interesting to read that manga instead.
I do remember a plot line in Kalos being like, there was like Pokemon 1 billion years ago, and like a giant found a fairy or some shit. It was dumb. It was just really dumb.
So look forward to that, everyone.
Yeah, look forward. All right, that's going to do it. Let's move on to weekly manga this week. This week.
All right. Let's kick things off with My Hero Academia. It's number 361, Abnormal Happenings. Last time, Mirio said that Shigaraki didn't have any friends. It was very hurtful.
It's great. And his fucking comeback, he's like, I had a lot of friends. You suck. Everyone knows you suck. I have friends.
Essentially, yes. Because this comment by Mirio seemingly awakens the young Shimura that is inside of the weird mind collective that is Shigaraki right now. And he starts shouting about how it's like, oh, I have friends, fuck you. And Mirio clearly is shaken by this because it's like, oh, I'm sorry, dude. I didn't know. I'm sorry. And he, of course, gets lashed out at by Shigaraki. He starts analyzing the situation and he realizes, well, this guy's body is evolving too much. His core is too strong for me to direct energy waves into. This manga's crazy. So this is really bad. I don't know what I can do to actually hurt this guy. The All for One inside Shigaraki's mind, God, it's hard to keep track of, realizes that there is some sort of fissure in the mind still, some part that he still has not completely fused with to completely take over the perfected body that he has crafted, blah, 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 blah. And he realizes that it is neither Tamura nor All for One. It's Shimura. And we get a visual of the young Shimura inside of this, and there's hands crawling all over him like they do with Shigaraki. And he's looking sad because he's a little kid in a desperate situation inside this mind palace. So, one for all, all for one rather, Shigaraki concludes that dragging out the confrontation is not a good idea. So he starts to retreat and heads instead towards Bakugo and Best Jeanist. And he's like, well, you can't really hurt me, so I'm just going to ignore you to Mirio. And Mirio's like, I mean, look, I can get in close to his body and buy time, but I can't actually attack him. Instead, I'm going to buy that time for you, Tamaki. Saying this to Sun Eater. Jeanist gets some big old cables and he's like, I'm going to get you. That's what all battle cries are going to be in this series from now on. I'm going to get you.
Yeah, grr. I want to take you down, you big toughie.
Yeah. So he tries to hold off Shigaraki, and Nejire also is firing her lance bolts at him, and they're just not connecting. And Shigaraki, comments on the big arena that they've built for themselves to fight him, and he says that they've instead constructed a tomb for themselves. And he starts launching finger limb things up at Nejire, I think. She's dodging between them in the next shot we see. And then we get a flashback that indicates, no, Nejire has more to her character. We promise. Look at this backstory.
The second they start giving her backstory, I was like, if I turn the page and Shigaraki has punched out her heart or something like that, I may scream. Like, just like, and just stop reading them all together.
I thought it might happen too, because I was like, this will be like the fourth or fifth one that this happened with that. But yeah, because we start to see like, oh, Nejire used to be this really stuck-up person who would look down on everyone, but despite that, Togata and Mirio approached her anyway, and they were really nice to her. And because of that, they kind of drew out the real kind person that she was, and she's like, and I'm stronger now because of that. And then she kind of passes the baton because she was just helping Mirio to buy a bit of time for Sun Eater to finish eating everything. And we get this 2-page spread of a thing coming out of Togata's arm.
Is so incomprehensible. Like, this is a cool moment that I cannot tell a single fucking thing that's happened. I think now I could read it and I'm like, oh, he's not actually punching All For One Shigaraki at all. He's just making his arm look like that or something. Like, I have zero idea what's happening. I also thought, I was like, oh, he must have he ate some of Nejire's energy. But now I
think that he might have.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm like, that seems to be the implication, but I don't know where you actually see that happening. It's very difficult to parse what's happening. It also just looks like maybe the energy's spiraling around. It's wild. It's so wild.
So he has eaten all of these things, including various insects and fruits and nuts, I think.
A turtle.
There's like a turtle, a sea urchin, and
a tarantula.
Combine it all with Nejire's energy, and as his friends are watching this, they observe like, yeah, you have basically no limits if you can just eat more things because they just all combine together. They say that he is an X-level mutant, basically. His ability has no upper... Omega-level mutant, sorry. Because his quirk has no upper cap. He just keeps on eating things and combines more powers together.
He would absolutely be an Omega-level mutant with that power. Because you're like, well, could I just cut off a little piece of Xavier or a little piece of Magneto, and you could just eat the both of them and then have both of their powers? But Magneto is an Omega-level mutant, however, Charles Xavier is not.
Yeah, that's right. So,
poser.
They're putting some faith in Sun Eater to deal a big, decisive blow. We'll see how that works out.
Good luck with that, guys. This is an odd chapter. It's not a bad chapter. It's almost kind of fun in its own ways. I do think it's rather obnoxious that it's like, I'd almost have rather gotten nothing for Nejire than just like a 2-page flashback that's like, here's why she's also important to this trio, guys. And you're just like, I don't know, Horikoshi. Like, if you don't like, I don't know. I don't want to insinuate that he doesn't like women, but I'm just like, if he didn't give enough of a shit about this character, do anything with her to this point, I don't care now. Especially when her backstory is like, she didn't have friends. She does now. The end. You're just like, I don't know, man. Like, you couldn't have done something more interesting with it.
2-page backstory.
It's like the seeds of this character have been planted throughout it. Like, what in her backstory has ever led us to believe, like, oh, at one point in time, she was a cold, icy person who people could never connect to, and now she's spontaneous and free.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different case from like Lady Nagant or Star and Stripe, where it's like, well, this character just showed up, so I've got to give you the backstory right now in a really short form to make you care in any way about it. It's like, how's Nedry been around since like God,
It's got to be
years.
Like at least 2020, maybe even 2019.
It's much longer than that. I think.
God.
Because she showed up at the same time as Mirio.
Yeah, that's true. The overall arc.
So.
Yeah, it's something where you're just like, I'd almost rather nothing.
Yeah, when the most consequential thing that she has done to this point is being present during the raid on the criminal group.
Hashi.
Shie Hasakai. Yeah. And then she looked pretty during the school festival arc, and so she won a thing. That was the two things she got to do. And it's like, well, she got her hair burned off. It's like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's there. Sunny looks cool. I do kind of like this cool moment for Sunny. You're like, I'm gonna eat fucking everything. Super. It's kind of cool, and it does make his name seem like this is a man who could eat the sun. Like, it is kind of a cool premise. It's just so fucking like this is just a Horikoshi's art thing. It's never gonna change. Sometimes you're just like, I assume what's happening is cool. I'll wait for, I guess, the anime to animate it and see if I can understand it then.
All right, let's move over to Undead Unluck.
Undead Unluck, number 121, Unfair. So as we follow up from last time, Billy has taken the powers of ruin because he's like, hey, you hate me, so my unfair allows me to copy your ability.
He hate me.
Yeah, he hate me. And sucks to suck, but I don't mind if someone who's like a complete scumbag hates me. So yoink.
I don't mind that he hate me because I don't think anyone understands.
Yeah. You may hate me, but I know you. He does a whole bunch of stuff of like, Ruin's trying to cut him up and do things like that. And Billy's just like, hey, look, I'll handle him. You guys head down to the Ark. He's using Unmove to basically block them and various different things. And he's just like, and he just says, sorry, I ended up liking you. And Billy doesn't say anything. So they're like, oh, let's go. But Fuko's a little bit hesitant. But then Tatiana pipes in and she's like, I'll go too, because I'm not letting this creep anywhere near Fuko. I'm going to make sure she gets the Ark and loops.
And her battle mech thing punches its fists together.
Yeah,
she looks cool.
It has like arms and legs now, which I guess it always has.
It's always had those.
I forget that it does it. I always just think it's like an orb that floats through the air. And of course, Fuko's like, no, that would mean you would stay. Like she knows what's going to happen if Tatiana stays behind. And like a little thing like suddenly comes at her and it stops. It's a little orb with the pinky extended. And she says, I know you're about to say something about how if I die, that all my efforts till now will go down the drain, yada, yada. But she doesn't say yada, yada. I'm not trying to dismiss her.
She actually says yada, yada. Yeah.
She says, but that's exactly why I need to get you to the last loop. Don't worry. Even if my body changes or I don't retain my memories, I'm still me. So just find me and be my friend all over again. And pinky swear, because that's how you guys make a promise in your country. You tell a lie, you get 1,000 needles in the eye, right? So Fuko and Tatiana exchange this pinky promise, and Fuko says, okay, I promise, let's get going. They open the gate.
And Tatiana in her orb is crying, and she's got her pinky extended, and it's so sad.
It's heartbreaking. So they got their emblems. They're like, all right, we're going down. Open the gate. They go through. Ruin tries to go after them. Billy and Tatiana stop him. And immediately Billy is like, hey, I'm sorry for the things I've done. And Tatiana's like, what? For calling me untouchable? For saying you wanted my ability? For saying that for not telling me you'd betray us? And all of them are like, stab, stab, stab. He's like, okay, so I apologize for all that too. But I wanted to make you happy, and all I've managed to do was make you cry. Maybe it would have been better if in the future we had never met in the first place. And she cuts him off and is like, no, I only made it this far because you showed kindness to me, Billy. Your kindness was always genuine, right? And right now, I'm as happy as could be because I'm with you and Fuko, two people I love very much. Andy, could take him or leave him. I found a friend and a family member who allowed me this chance to do so. It's the best. So if you really want to make it up to me, since you can't die because you're copying on Ruin right now, you can stay side by side until I die. After all, I cried a whole lot while you were gone. If you didn't do at least that much, it would be unfair, right? And it's like fucking a dagger just stabbed into my heart. And I love the turn back of like, hey, here's your stupid word being thrown back at you. Isn't that right, jerk face? Billy just laughs and says, you're right. I guess I should take a page out of their book. And then Andy and Fuko go down the hole. They arrive at the round table. And Juez just says, this takes me back. It reminds me of the first time you two came here. It's time to make a choice, Undead and Unluck.
Yeah, she's seeming really ominous in this last picture, isn't she? Like,
Well, it makes sense. She's been the one who's always taken the arc because she's been the only person she ever felt comfortable with making that decision. And this is a time where she knows she can't be the one to make that call. She is going to die in this loop. Everything she knows is going to die with her essentially here.
Yeah.
I should also know, I guess, before we move on or anything like that, Undead Unluck had a recent announcement where there's like an alternate, like an AR game that's going on where you find clues for the next 4 weeks. Anyway, the suspected thing at the end of this is it probably is going to be an anime. It's not confirmed yet. It seems heavily implied. So maybe Undead Unluck is getting an anime. Adding further fire into the... How successful is this series right now? No one really knows, Pyle.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just wait to find out on that. This was a good chapter. It also punched me right in the heart to see the interaction between Fuko and Tatiana, knowing that this is probably going to be the last time that the two of them see each other, and any version of Tatiana sees in the future is going to be slightly a different Tatiana. Yeah, and seems like she's going to die. Yeah. So
yeah, it's I mean, this is the real. I'm glad at least that I assume we're not going to have to watch it. Like we haven't had to watch. Like we didn't specifically have to watch Rip die. Well, I guess we did, but we didn't have to like dwell in it too long, and you don't have to super dwell in like Nico. And I'm really glad we don't just have to watch like I'm hoping. Or if we do, like, let it be, like, a panel or something like that, where we don't have to watch, like, Ruin, like, punch a hole through her or some shit like that. Or, I don't know, like, you can just know, like, hey, things go bad in this timeline because that is the way it's destined to end. But the hope is the new timeline. But I don't want to have to really sit through the misery of watching all these characters I really love die. Like, I don't want to watch Top, like, have to be like, oh, my legs, they're turning to sand and I'm going to be crushed by a rock. I don't want a multiverse of madness moment, if you know what I'm getting at.
Gotcha. All right, what are we on now?
We are talking about Chainsaw Man.
All right.
Like 4 pages worth. It felt very short. I know it's longer than that. But...
Chapter 101, After School Devil Hunters. So our new friends meet up at school the next day. And oh god, I'm sorry, I'm getting their names confused. So Asa says, okay, well, you can have the shoes back. And she's like, no, I said that you could keep them. Well, they didn't fit me exactly. They're a little small. And then they just kind of like decide to keep on hanging out. God, what is her friend's name? Yuko?
Yes.
Yeah, she says like, hey, well, why don't we go like hunt devils after school? It'll be cool, right? And Asa's a bit hesitant, but she's also seemingly a little bit embarrassed about this. But she's like, yeah, okay, yeah. So they go to do that, and they end up, like hang out, having some food beforehand, and they kind of just announce, like, I guess Yoshi just skipped school today, which, wonder what he could be up to. Uh, and Asa asks why Yuko is like gung ho about being a devil hunter, and she's like, "Well, you get big money and you don't have to go to college." And also, my parents got killed by a devil, so I'd be like an Avenger. Perfect, right?
I know at this point you technically can say the term Avenger without it being like every letter's capital, but I was like, I wonder how much that is an intentional, like the MCU exists in this world. And like in this world, the people who came back from the blip are like, oh God, I'm back in the devil world. This sucks.
Then Asa says something that made me take pause because she hesitates for a moment, and then she says, "Me too. My parents were killed by a devil too." We don't know that, do we? We haven't seen her parents.
She's almost certainly lying.
Yeah, I get the impression that she's just trying to connect with Yuko in this way.
Yeah.
Because she clearly also is lying about that being the reason that she's joined the Devil Hunters Club, because she didn't want to. She's being forced to do it by the War Devil. And Yuko's like, oh my God, we could be partner Devil Hunters, two avenging angels of death. It'll be great. Awesome. I gotta go pee because I have to pee when I get excited.
I almost wish this was just the fucking, like, that this was the manga of like, oh, two avenging fucking angels of death. That sounds pretty dope. It was mentioned that Mitaka's parents were killed by a devil in her first chapter, so I guess maybe she was.
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
All right. So
maybe that pause is just because she's so nervous, like that she has an excitement.
Yeah. She's very bad at making friends, unfortunately. So the War Devil appears, of course, while Yuko is gone, and says to Mitaka that, hey, we should kill her. And Mitaka's like, what you talking about? And she says, like, look, if you kill someone, then the remains belong to you and you can turn her into a weapon. So let's do that. Mitaka's like, no. Well, you need to kill devils with powerful weapons. And the guiltier you feel about creating a weapon, the more powerful it will be. Oh boy, that's going to be great.
Cool. This manga is going to weaponize feeling guilty. Yeah, cool. Cool.
And she's like, yeah, it'll be great. Just choose a good location and kill her. And Mitaka's like, I'm not going to do that. Why do you want to kill people so much? And the War Devil says, hey, girl, you're not here to make friends. And Mitaka gets mad because she's always calling her girl this and girl that. And she's like, I've got a name. Call me Asa. And War Devil says, well, you don't call me by my name either. And Mitaka says, well, that's because War Devil is a weird and awkward thing to say all the time.
I do just like that. She's like, but War Devil's just like awkward to say. He's like, fair.
You've got a point. Get a point. So War Devil's like, all right, I'll drop it. She'll make a better weapon with you kind closer anyway. And then she switches to, all right, you have difficulty just saying my name in casual conversation. So, all right, you can call me Yoru. And if it serves my quest to kill Chainsaw Man, I'll swallow everything you say.
And it's like a pun thing, right? Like it's morning and evening or something like that?
Yeah.
Or day and night, something like that.
Yes. Yoru means night. So, this is, of course, all above Mitaka's pay grade. All the stuff that Yoru is talking about. And she's like, not even trying to focus on it. She's like, I've made a friend and I'm having fun and this is great. She's kind of just disappearing into that. They pass by a street preacher who is doing something very unhelpful, which is telling everyone to be scared of devils, which is what makes them stronger. And he just goes on for the rest of the chapter, basically. Like it starts off, on him, and then we will cut back to him saying stuff for a bit. about how like, oh my god, you're all gonna die because a devil kills you. And he recites some statistics about how common it is for people to be killed by devils these days. It is up to like 7 out of every 20 people are killed by devils directly. And meanwhile, Yuko and Mitaka are walking along, and this giant humanoid bat devil thing comes rushing around the corner, throwing people off buildings and crushing them and stuff. And he starts eating one, as the preacher concludes by saying, "Mankind is at war with devils." And Mitaka and Yuko look at this giant bat thing eating a dude's arm, surrounded by dead bodies, and it ends on this amazing fucking note. Because Yoru appears next to Mitaka, who is standing there stunned, and she says, "I have bad news and more bad news." She says, first off, we can't beat the Bat Devil when in your current state. Second, I just learned I can't take over your body when you're stricken with fear.
It's a great moment. It's a great moment.
So she says, "Asa, back away, slowly and quietly." And Yuko and Mitaka turn and run away as fast as they can and immediately draw the Bat Devil's attention while Yoru yells at them for drawing his attention. And that's the end of the chapter. By the way, so Shonen Jump is going to be on a break next week. Also, Chainsaw Man is at the same time going to a bi-weekly schedule now. We had been thinking that this was going to happen eventually, that it was not going to be every single week that we would get a chapter, and that is what has happened. It seems like it's going to be every other week, starting when the next chapter comes out on the 16th of August. So there we go.
Yep. That makes sense. Good chapter. Funny moments. I like the conversation going on. I want to see Chainsaw Man again, though.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that. I do like the fact that the series didn't make you sit on the idea that the War Devil would want to kill Yuko, and that makes her stronger because they're closer than just some rando that she could kill. So I'm just glad that it's like, okay, that thought's in your head. Yeah. Here it is out in the open, so you don't have to just be sitting on that while we don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about World Trigger. Chapter 224, the away mission test, part 22. So we have moved on to the next day of the test and the next phase of the simulation battles. And the big thing that is happening here is that there are more units that have to be controlled. So we start off with hang on, Ms. Ukami, that's his full name. And he realizes, like, oh man, at this point, I think that they're probably going to, so they're going to keep on expanding the number of units, and eventually I might have to deal with like 25. And if I'm doing it by myself, even I might have a hard time. All right, humble brag. We check in on a few squads reacting to, having to adjust to having more units to control. Not a lot actually gets said until we get over to Kodera Squad, which is the one that Kitora is on. And they throw out some theories that range damage is calculated differently from blade damage, and there's all this stuff that's not important.
But like someone coded it wrong. Actually, sometimes you can, if you go in with certain amounts of code key damage, it actually loops back around to a negative value, becomes infinite damage. They didn't play test it very well. Kitora's skills are broken. It looks like it clips through walls, and the animation cycle is a little too short. There's some keyframe issues that need to be fixed. There's a hot patch, I think, coming in any minute now.
Focus energy actually lowers your chance of critting, even though it's supposed to increase it. And it's just, yeah, so...
Yeah,
So
there was only so many room for storage on it, so that's why if you have a Growlithe in your party and you level up it, it'll evolve your Pikachu because it's the same value as a Thunderstorm. That was also a fun fact about Pokemon I learned recently.
I didn't know about that one, but that makes sense. Yeah. So they basically reached the conclusion of like, okay, we can keep on focusing on this written stuff, but we actually need to start making headway in the battle sims as well, because no matter how good we do in the written assignments, we'll fall behind without that. But Kitora tells, not Kitora, rather, Kodera tells them all. There's too many characters. Kodera tells them all, look, our major chance for points is going to come tomorrow, so we're going to keep on playing. We're not going to play defensively today. We're going to gather data. And if anyone has a new idea on what we should try, speak up now. He also turns to their operator, Rokuta, and says, is that okay? And she hesitantly says yes, but privately she thinks to herself, given the circumstances, I don't know if I can. So she's got a thing going on that I think we're only just learning about. We check in on Utagawa's squad. And what is this guy's name? Hang on.
It's
Utagawa squad. Urashima.
there you go.
Urashima gets a message. He goes to answer it. Cut away. So Wakamura squad. Wakamura sucks. All right. So everyone's turning to each other to figure out what they are going to do about these battle sims. They're increasingly becoming a problem, especially because they've got this written stuff to do. And Hosoi recommends that they go with Hughes in command. And Hughes says, like, look, if people stick to like straightforward strategies, I can guarantee a victory or a draw against most of the other teams that we have to go up against. And they ask him about stuff like, what about Mizukami? And he says, oh yeah, like our squad's got advantage because we've got higher try-on totals. And the more units that you have, the more the try-on difference between them is going to affect the outcome of the battle. So we're actually going to be in a much better situation today than we were yesterday if we have traditional straightforward battles. And they're like, well, what about Kotori? Oh, she's unpredictable. So I don't know. He immediately is like, yeah, I'm not going to take ownership of that one. As they're discussing this possibility, Wakamura starts to get discouraged and stuff, but he actually kind of peps up a bit because Hugh says, look, I'll only do this if the captain orders it. And so that kind of, because he's the one giving the go ahead, seems to give him a little bit of a reason to be like, okay, we'll go with Hughes' idea here, but only on the ones that he thinks he has the winning strategy on. Otherwise, we'll play normally. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Then we get into some of the battles, and Osamu is thinking about what he went over with Suwa, about Mizukami running battles by himself, and everyone's been thinking about that. Then it gets to the point where they need to prepare for everything. The win condition also has changed. There is, which is if there's a difference between squads remaining units, then the squad with the most remaining units is the winner. So it's not just a pure elimination thing. We covered a Mizukami who's still like, gotta do this by myself. Guys, I'm not doing anything suspicious in this room by myself. Keep doing what you're doing. Bye. Taichi wears his stupid fucking hat over his headphones because fuck him. Battle sim exercise. We ram through this stuff really quickly. Suwa squad gets a win over Kitazoe's squad because Kitazoe's squad kind of sucks at this point, and then we just kind of go through results, and it's all very weirdly cutesy violent because there's people making silly expressions where they get holes blown in them because it's a chibi video game setting. As they get more and more into it, Osama keeps on reflecting on the fact that, yeah, this is a problem because there are strategies that aren't going to work because of the try-on difference and stuff. And meanwhile, weaker units are getting more and more of their vulnerabilities exposed. And also the point total difference is affecting that too. So we need to find a way to score without relying on just the statistics associated with our units. The special assignment comes in. Suwa decides to answer it. It's an interesting question, which is, hey, come up with a new match format other than the ones that you currently participate in, which are 3-match and 4-match stuff for rank wars. It's like, cool.
Royal Rumble. That's what I would put down. That's why I'm not a B-Ray Cajun.
Shark cage match.
A mimosa match.
So Sua says, like, hey, you guys manage my units. Keep on trying to come up with cheese strats so that we can win further down the line. Then things keep on going. And again, we get the point where they beat Wagamura's squad. And again, Katori looks really disappointed in her teammate. And then the battles finish. They got the same number of wins that they did the previous day. So no, I guess, real problems there. So
technically
they
improved because there was one less loss but that loss became a draw.
Right. And they also go up a little bit in the rankings, partially as a result of that, and partially because they just kind of accommodated better to having to do that while doing written tests. But Katori is not listening to everyone reflecting on this stuff. She just looks at her two squad mates being in the two teams that are ranked at the very bottom, and is like, ugh. And as they're all trying to basically have a session after the combats are done, and Sua says, let's do a rundown of what you guys have picked up. Katori just collapses on her laptop and puts her head down, and she looks really bored and annoyed. And they're like, what's wrong, Katori? And she says, I'm just suddenly not feeling this at all. And that's the note we end on. She's just very unenthusiastic about this stuff. So
it's fair. We knew this was kind of a character trait of hers. She shuts down sometimes, so it'll be interesting to see how they can sort of diagnose this and actually try to come up with a response. Like, how do we get her out of this funk? Essentially,
yeah,
because we're in a pretty stressful environment, so it's really hard to separate it entirely.
Yeah, and she's also separated from any people who might be able to connect to her on any on any personal level. So yay! Yeah. This was an actual I liked that the pace picked up in this chapter, and we got some stuff that's like, oh my god, personal issues are gonna be coming up now. Yay!
Yeah.
All right, let's move away from that now.
Yeah, let's talk about everyone's favorite Eden Zero. So this is technically, I guess, going to be a live read. I did skim through it right before the podcast, but I didn't pick up every single line of dialogue. So, we'll see how that goes. Chapter 202, Unmasked. So the Eden Zero crew is in their fight with Dead End Crow, who just absorbed Holy recently. Clean is like, the Steel Sorceress's signal, I've lost it. We've also lost contact with Holy. Like, what do we do? And the captain's like, evade! We gotta release the charge. And they're like, we gotta get out of here. Dead End Crow's like, you're not getting away. And he starts overdriving. They're like, what? But at that size, and he basically becomes one of the bad Gigantamax Pokemon where the torso's way too long and you're like, all right, man, I don't know what's going on here. I guess this is a little silly for silly sake. He's going to punch it because, as we know from Hero Manga, when your character gets very, very big, they're the strongest thing ever. And they aren't usually just defeated by someone being like, zap. How fucking fast is he? This is crazy. All hands brace for impact. And he punches them with their shield and just sends the ship flying. So they're all dead from the inertia alone.
Pretty much.
Would just liquefy them. But we cut over to Ziggy and Shiki, who are fighting. They throw rocks at each other. And then they punch each other a little bit. And then Shiki punches Ziggy really hard in the face. And I guess the gravity that ripples off of it rips apart Ziggy's mask, which we didn't know he had. And there's a person seemingly underneath it. It looks like a flesh and blood body. It could just be an android or something like that. Sure. But it does look like there is somebody underneath Ziggy's mask.
It has a nose and it has teeth.
Yes. So Shiki's like, what? Cut over to inside Dead End Crow. Holy is inside. She's like, I've lost contact with Eden Zero. Am I inside Crow? And she says, maybe this isn't so bad. Now I can destroy him from the inside. She's like, wait a minute. I can't use my ether gear. What's going on? And Dead End Crow has summoned a little tiny version of himself to walk around being like, yes, hello, little missy. It's an ether jammer. And she's like, dead end crow. How? Is that your real body? He's like, no, of course not. You're just seeing a physical manifestation of my personality, which doesn't really answer a lot.
No, not really.
You just can make a little tiny you, I guess. Sure. And he says, so don't get your hopes that you can take down the giant by defeating me. So Holy goes, crow, and goes to punch him. And he's like,
Crow.
yeah. He says, hey, didn't you hear what I just said? Besides, you can't use your ether gear now. You're just a helpless little girl. And she has like a gritted face, like, Arr. And he's like, oh, that face. Hey. And then he snaps her wrist, seemingly. Or maybe her whole arm, actually.
Yeah.
Because she just started screaming. And he's like, wait, haven't I seen you before? And she's like, you slaughtered all those people on Atmos Day. One of them was my sister. And he's like, oh, maybe I still have data on that. I store all the senseless travesties I cause, I guess, and I could watch them later. And she's like, yeah, you killed Sarah. And he's like, oh, yeah, but I let you live, didn't I? Stripped naked and hung up in the square for everyone to see. That was one of my best work. And I'm not going to act like I called it, but I did state before when we saw that face, I was like, I bet it's going to be some weird sexual violence thing. That's the root of all this, because that's just what Hero does. So it's good to know you can predict that pattern. Holy tries to punch him with his other arm, which
No, it's because Quinn. It's because Eden Zero is a very dark story with serious plot points.
Very dark. He killed his sister and then strung her up naked in the square for everyone to see. It's not weird.
Yeah, until she started to smell like poop.
Yes. He cut that part. He like kept walking over and he's like, oh, this is stinky. This isn't hot. Like, gross. like this isn't erotic at all. Like, Hero has to come face to face with like the realities of the scenarios. He's great. Like,
look, I draw the line at scat. Okay.
Yeah. Ew, gross. Unless, do you want it?
Unless.
Yeah, unless.
I don't know.
There is a rectum bomb, so maybe we're not far off from this place.
That was all just a joke the whole time.
Holy goes to punch him with her other arm, which is kind of a baller move. I'll give her that. But then Dead End Crow just starts choking her again. And he's like, oh, you want me to do it? Nah, better not. Last time all the people complained at the smell of your dung. I didn't read that.
That's why I said that she started to smell like poop, Quinn. Yeah. See, Eden Zero is a very dark and serious story about the mature issues that you face when you come up against the worst that the universe has to offer.
He was like, ha ha ha, you smell like poop. Yo, people still act like this is the fucking coolest shit in the world, man. It's wild.
You just can't appreciate this very mature story that Hero's telling. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
He says nobody survives 2 fights with me, and I guess he's gonna kill Holy, but then his arm gets cut off, or his physical manifestation gets physically manifested of an arm getting cut off, and it's Jin and Laguna, and they're like, we'll take care of our guests.
Also, they can use their ether gear, so I guess the jammer doesn't affect them. So
yeah, well, maybe you only put it on one person. Maybe like he's like, how many people could get inside of me?
Look, I'm a giant person, so my body's internal defenses, are like my immune system. And like all immune systems, it can only handle one invading body at a time.
Like all human bodies, I have one white blood cell to combat diseases. That's all I need, just one. The Roman reigns, I used to call it.
One white blood cell. That's what Osmosis Jones is about, right? Yeah. Just one white blood cell.
There was another white blood cell, and he was like, get out of here. We don't need you in these parts.
I never saw that movie.
Look good, though. Looked good. Oh, I feel so sick.
Maybe if I go over here to where these people have shit themselves, I'll feel better.
I know. Why is that the detail? I want to know what his end goal is there. Like, I'm going to kill everybody. Except, I guess I'll just kill a lot and then string you up naked for everyone to look. And their big complaint is like, ugh, smells kind of poopy up here.
Like, it was her act of defiance?
Yeah, like, were they bothered by this? Were they horrified? Because you would assume in that scenario, like, if they were really tortured by the experience, they wouldn't say anything and the threat of it possibly happening to them. But I like that they were just like, hey, Mr. Crow, we love having you here. I know you had a different way of celebrating Atmos Day than most of us, but we really respect that. And we like what you're doing with the town. Just, one little detail. And honestly, I think this could just improve everything. It smells like shit. Like all the time, it just smells like diarrhea constantly. And we were thinking, like, I don't know, like maybe you could put like an air freshener up there or something like that. Just pop one in. I don't really need to know where. That's up to you. You seem like you're the mastermind, the aster in all of this. But if you could just slide one of those right up in there, or even like an air freshener around the neck, something. Because again, like the diarrhea smell, it's so palpable. I can't sleep. That's all I'm getting at here. But again,
will you let us install fans? Just fans like outside our bedrooms to blow the smell away.
Can we close the window or something? Again, you're doing a 10 out of 10 job. You know, this is just to bring it up to 11. But
alright, you're going up my butthole.
He's like, I don't actually have a nose, so I don't know what it smells like. Is it bad? I'm a robot, I think. All right, so
anyway,
great chapter. Let's talk about Akane-banashi.
How do we do anything after that? Jesus Christ! All right. Oh, cool dramatic chapter. Cool dramatic chapter. Story 24 of Akane-banashi: Infinite Blessings. So Akane begins her performance of Jugemu in this chapter, and it starts off with her acting out the meeting between the father and the monk, who offers all these different ideas for names for their son. And the father keeps on expressing like dissatisfaction, like, oh, well, this will only grant him happiness for 1,000 years. It'll only let him live for 10,000 years. No, we want a name that'll make it sound like he'll live forever. Hikaru is observing the performance, and she's trying to figure out basically what the key is to what is affecting her performance, because she's not changing the way she speaks much, or the facial expression she's making, and our performances are nothing alike. I never entertained the idea of doing something subtle. I never realized you could do Rakugo this way. And she actually out the point where the monk offers up the name Jugemu and all of the blessings that are associated with it. And the father says, yeah, I like it. But what else you got? And she goes through all the different names and all of the different meanings behind them, the significance of all of them. Cool old illustrations for all of them, for the meaning of them and where they came from and why they're so offer so much prosperity for the child who's named with them. And eventually she comes to the monk saying, there's Chokyume, written with the kanji for extremely long life, and Chosuke, which means to help for a long time. And if I were to have a son of my own, that's what I'd name him. And as she says this, she flashes back to a conversation she had with her mother about her name. And her mother says, you were born a little bit before your due date, and Toru was away for work. He didn't get to the hospital until the evening after you were born. And we get a flashback within a flashback of Akane as a baby being held for the first time in her father's arms. And of course, she's this little bundle, and she's, a baby, so she's crying. And as Toru looks out the window while holding his daughter, he says to Misaki, his wife, why don't we name her Akane? And in the midway flashback, Misaki explains to Akane that he's thought, Scarlet, because of the sunset he was looking at, nay for sound. And Scarlet also means to avert evil and has meant to have a long life. He actually really thought about it. Of course he did. No parent picks a name for their child at random. And she cuts into the performance again, and Jugemu's father just like, let's stick all these names on our boy. And, his explanation is like, what if we only use one of these names and he ends up dying? Because we'll want to think that, why didn't we pick another name? And there's this context in the Edo period, childhood death was very common. So parents would give their children names that aspired to long life to try and hold off death while they were young. And the key to Jugemu isn't the long phrase, the tongue twister element. In a story that makes you laugh by repeating this ridiculously long name, the key is why they gave him that name. The unconditional love that parents feel for their child. And Akane acts out, the first joke of the story with Jugemu's mother trying to comfort him. And so she's like, oh, come on, let's play peekaboo. Look up here, Jugemu no Gogo no Suriki Rezu Kairu. The whole thing, which goes across the entire page. And then she does peekaboo, and the baby is gone. And hey, there's a joke. She took so long to play peekaboo with her kid because of saying his name, and it's gone. And there's just this big ha that goes out across around the audience. And Hikaru starts to realize something is happening. And she doesn't understand it yet, but she says, the more I listen, the more of the imagery of what she's describing takes over, the more her presence fades from the stage. And that's the end of the chapter. Very cool. Really liked it.
It's an excellent chapter. I was curious where they were going to go. Like, what's the reinterpretation? It's like, playing into what was said before about like the meaning of things is actually a very important way to go about stories. So the meaning of the Jugemu story and why those names are so important, like placing an emphasis on that and almost turning it a bit more into almost like a tragedy as opposed to just like a goofy joke story. It's very sweet. I'm very curious to see where they go. I don't know if there's a chapter I'm more hyped to see next chapter of than
absolutely
this series right now.
Yeah, and obviously, playing into the idea of like, because they went with this decision, it turns on them and stuff, as was previously alluded to. But I also was not expecting that we would get all this about, Akane and her name and how that allows her to relate to it more. So it's very sweet. So
yeah, it's very, very good. Good stuff. And good stuff all around.
Good stuff.
Let's carry good stuff into the next good series.
Aliens area. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, number 9, Break the Silence.
With a title like that, it has to be exciting and awesome, right?
Yeah, Tatsumi's having trouble setting up his work computer.
Hey, don't we all?
No.
Oh, well. He's like a simple pumpkin. He's never had a computer before. So this is all very difficult. It's actually kind of a funny premise of this. Like, this guy doesn't have any money, so he never has. So
yeah.
Computers are weird for him. Like a quick opening gag. I dug it.
Yeah. Genji, one of the other members of Team Shiraku, comes over and is like, hey, here, let me try it. Hey, did you see the email we got before? Yeah, we need to address a parking violation. Yeah, can you take care of that? That'd be great. Yeah. But he says that they need to deal with a UFO parking violation, which Tatsumi's like, they hit parking tickets, which is a fair reaction. Yeah. They are driven out to the site, and there is just this kind of just nice little awkward moment where they don't know how to talk to each other because they can't really talk when it's just the two of them. It's more comfortable when they're in a group. It's like, yeah, relatable, sure.
Understandable, yeah.
There is a bit of a thing because, they go to a playground and Gijin challenges Tatsumi to spot the UFO, and it turns out it's the phone booth. Who would have ever thought of traveling via phone booth? No one would ever think of that who has seen any sci-fi whatsoever. So the alien shows up. He's a very tall dude who's got a big brain. Honestly, he looks like a very tall version of the Martians from Mars Attacks.
A little bit, yeah. Definitely has the head for it.
Right. And so the alien says like, "Oh yeah, this guy said it was fine to park my ride here. I don't see what the problem is." So Gijin's trying to help Tatsumi, work through the situation. He's like, "Hey, yeah, like you can handle it." So Tatsumi's trying to interview him, and he's like having to crane his neck to look up at the guy and stuff. It's like, why are you visiting? What's the purpose? I already told that guy. And Tatsumi says, "Well, you've got to move your vehicle." Why? What do you mean why? Why do I have to move it? Because it's the law. Like, why do I have to obey Earth laws? And he spits at Tatsumi, who has to dodge out of the way, and like he's got like acid spit, so this guy's clearly not cool. And the guy looks like he's going to like spit directly on Tatsumi, and Tatsumi's like, "Shit, what do I do if I say the wrong thing? Is this alien gonna try and kill me?" And basically, Genji says like, "Listen, we don't really care, but our bosses and stuff. Come on, it's like, we'd have to do this, and you have to go through all this red tape in order to get your car out from being impounded and stuff." And then he offers him tissues, and he says, like, "Look, you're drooling. Earth etiquette demands you wipe up your spit. I know you're not doing it on purpose, but I also know that like it's good manners to operate your UFO and stow where people can't see." That's when he points out the tissues are going to melt. This is a thing that I understand is very common in Japan, is that people just like will just carry tissues around to give to people if they don't have them. It's just considered common courtesy, like, oh, you need to like wipe your mouth or wipe your nose or blow your nose. So here, yeah. So, but he's basically making a point of like undercutting this alien's tough guy act by being like, "Oh, here, let me help you out with your little baby dribble thing." And after he's talked to this way, they have an easier time with the alien who cooperates with them more. And Genji's like, "Yeah, I ran a background check on that guy, and yeah, he knew all the stuff that he wasn't supposed to do and stuff. If he had, caused trouble, we might have had to use force. And hey, look, when you run into situations like that, when you run into trouble and things are getting tricky, you can request help because you can't do everything yourself. And you can also ask us for, advice and help, so that way we can show off for you." So it's like, all right, that's nice. And then they kind of follow through on that because Genji helps Tatsumi set up his computer when they get back to the office. And then they're like, "Hey, you want to go eat?" But Tatsumi's like, "Nah, I gotta get back to my family." And they go back on the road. And as they're on the road, Genji says, "I should never take the expressway because it reminds me of my ex-girlfriend." And Tatsumi's like, Can I ask you about that?" "No." And that's the end of the chapter.
It's a funny ending, But so this series ain't doing so hot. It just started ranking, has already plummeted to the very bottom.
Oh, but right when it was getting boringly okay.
It's set to like, because now this series almost seems like maybe it's gonna try to be more slice of life. Like we've been 2 chapters in a row where like the ultimate thing has been like, yeah, you don't need to solve every conflict by fighting. Like sometimes you just talk these things out, and this time it's like, we got to kind of deal with it politically, and you got to get more acquainted with one of your coworkers. Like it's super kind of like gentle and easy, and ends on like a joke. There's no fighting or anything like that. But like, and I actually think it's kind of fun. Like I almost wish this had been the premise from the very beginning,
sure,
as opposed to like, or like it just picked it, like one or the other, like gone with something. As it is, I think the series is potentially already doomed. But it is certainly an interesting thing to watch when it went from being like, here's a battle series with special hands and gravity defying powers and all sorts of gimmicks, and then it's like, yeah, 2 chapters, just take it easy, just, like chill. Like
this is the time for us to do this.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, I kind of, fuck it, just go for it.
This is how we're ending volume 1. All right, over to Blue Box, chapter number 63. Help me out.
Blue Box.
Taiki is objecting to the idea of him being the substitute prince in the Snow White play, and people are like, I mean, you can't object now. You've already put on the costume. You made me put it on. Come on, dude. Come on. And so they appeal to you, and they're like, come on, look, we got to put this play on. The audience will be waiting. Taiki brings to the point of like, I know, Kyo knows all the lines, and Kyo's not there because he's been being used by the festival committee. So we all know that Kyo would have stepped up to the occasion. You can always count on Kyo. Kyo.
Kyo.
So they, restate the point that like, okay, you know the whole production. You're familiar with everything. You're the only one who really stands a chance to be able to actually do this because everyone else is going to be busy with other stuff. And Taiki realizes, like, I know that everyone's been practicing. I know how hard they've worked for this. His eyes go over to Hina, who is kind of looking pleadingly at him. And Taiki specifically thinks about how hard she has been working, walking around the halls, reciting her lines and stuff, all the prep she's put into this. And so he decides, he can't let his friend down at this moment. So he agrees to play the prince. And as everyone kind of goes off to get ready, he passes by Hina and says, hey, look, if I forget my lines, help cover for me. And she's like, yeah, I will. So it's a nice little note of like, hey, cool. So, and he's like, I'm glad the prince doesn't have so many lines. I should be fine, even if I don't get every single word exactly right. Oh, but I've never been on stage to do anything except play the melodica at recital in elementary school. So, yeah, it's relatable. Yeah, I understand that. It's difficult to put yourself into that situation very suddenly. He then gets weird ideas in his head of if he loses his place, he'll just ad-lib and distract people with a song, which I think will just make his situation worse. So it's a good thing he's having these thoughts now instead of on stage. And then he also has to deal with the fact that it's like, oh, there's a kissing scene. It's like they weren't going to kiss. You don't have to kiss her either. So, and he's like, look, I know it's not going to be real, but it was embarrassing when we did it the once before. Never got to do it again. And then, as he's thinking about that, he thinks about that Chinatsu has told him she's coming to see the play. And then it just sets him off all over again. He like crunches down. And he's worried about like, oh, I told her I wasn't going to be in the play, and I'm going to have this key role in the play. She's going to think I lied to her again, and I can't just tell her not to come. And we cut ahead to people gathering in the audience. There is another performance that's going on. It looks like kind of an idol girl group, basically. And Chinatsu is meeting with Hina and I always forget his name. It's
Hyodo.
Hyodo. That was very close. Damn it. I almost said Hyoka. That's not it. But anyway, so they're going to watch stuff. And they're talking about everything like, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of people who are coming to see the cute girl from the Rhythmic Gymnastics Club and stuff. There's a funny little moment where Hina turns to Hyodo and says, which one of us is cuter? And Hyodo's just, you, Miss Karen. He's had to answer this so many times. And Hyodo just kind of says like, well, yeah, I mean, like, if you're going to go see a school play, you got to have a reason. You wouldn't just go see a play unless you knew somebody who was in it. Just kind of offhandedly says that while sitting next to Chinatsu. Hina asks, like, oh, do you know someone in it? And Hyodo's like, oh, no, but my club member has helped with the play. So it's like, oh, that's
what a damn fine thing to do. Like,
what a good guy Hyodo is. Yeah. But as he says this, Chinatsu says, oh no, Taiki Inamada's going to be on stage. He's going to be playing the prince. And of course, his club mates are like, what the hell, really? Oh man, I can't wait. Let's get a camera ready. Again, great club mates.
Yeah.
But they kind of bring up the point of like, wait, why do you know that? But there is, at that moment, there's conversation going on with people whispering like, oh man, the prince had to be replaced. So it's oh, okay, it's a rumor. So she must have heard it that way. But of course, we look down at Chinatsu's phone and we see that she got a message from Taiki, who did the smart thing and told her what happened. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to act. Please don't be so hard on me, basically. And Chinatsu's got a bit of a weird look on her face. Probably because she realizes, wait a minute, he's going to be kissing that girl who's sweet on him.
Well, isn't she going to be thinking, just didn't he shout out, like, nothing happened, I didn't kiss anybody?
No, well, I don't know. It's hard to read Chinatsu. That's...
I was genuinely very impressed that he actually did communicate that to her. Like, hey, I'm going to be on stage. Please don't judge. Like, because you were like, this could have been like a stupid conflict that provenly was solved by sending a text message, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now all sorts of other complications can come up and said that are more interesting than the stuff that, we've seen a billion times.
I wanted to get on stage. He's just like, I, the prince, and nothing happened last time. To be clear, we'll go and kiss Sleeping Beauty. But just
and
like before,
this is just the play.
Nothing is happening.
And so
all right, we're clear.
And so the prince kissed Snow White. No! I haven't. No.
In fiction.
In fiction.
Not for real. In reality.
This is lies and slander against my character.
In reality, I am pretending to do so. In accordance with the fact that we have never kissed there. Nothing happened last time. All right, go ahead.
Wait, what last time are you talking about?
He runs off the stage again, trips over her, and then runs off the stage.
We get a brief little scene between a couple of crew members of the class who make reference to a confetti ball, which I'm sure will never come up again. And then cut to backstage. Taiki's kind of leading the class in a little bit of all right, let's do this. Come on, go out there. And there are some people who kind of unenthusiastically root on Taiki, I guess. But then, and he's still thinking about the fact that, oh my God, I'm going to have to kiss Hina and it's going to be really embarrassing. Fake kiss Hina. Hina does the knee bump thing to him.
That was pretty cool. I like that.
She did that in a dress too.
I was going to say, that seems like it is an exceptionally difficult thing to do in a dress.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, hey, come on. Why are you so nervous about this? And Taiki points out, why are you not nervous? And Hina responds, did you forget who I am? Which is great. But she then gets a bit serious and she says, look, I am nervous because this is totally different from a rhythmic gymnastics performance. And I didn't expect that I'd have to be acting opposite you. But I know that everyone's counting on me because I'm the lead of this play. And I've been preparing for this as best I can. So, look, you're one of my closest friends. Help me out with all you've got. And she gets in this kind of fighting pose. And then to kind of break the tension a little bit, she brings up a time that when they were in junior high, they did a sports day thing, and Taiki, as one of the guys in a sports club, had to do a cheerleading routine with his clubmates. So, which is a fairly common thing in Japanese schools, from what I understand. So, but yeah, they kind of just make small talk a little bit about nerves and working through it and stuff. Kyo comes in after having helped out, and he's talking to some people and being like, hey, good work on everything and stuff. There's a few people that are whispering to each other, and when he comes over to talk to them, he's like, what are you guys whispering about? And they say, oh, we were just kind of looking at Hina and Taiki talking, and we were wondering if they're going out because they've always been really close. And Kyo gets all I think they're just friends. But you bring up a point. What exactly is the difference between a platonic friend and a lover?
Kyo's dumb.
He's dumb as fuck.
Kyo's he posted that on Facebook immediately after. Well, not Facebook. That'd be fucking ancient. But he posted
MySpace.
Yeah. He got on his Zanga account and posted that little nugget. No, he went on whatever social media. Yeah. He got to his Angel Fire account. He went to his Neopets account and posted it on his message board for the day.
We can't go back any further. That's as old as we know.
Yeah, that's as old as the internet. No, you fucking... It's such a doofy fucking teenage thought of really, what is the difference? You can't be a fucking... a friend. Like, you're always gonna be lovers. It's always gonna be there. It's like, what's really the difference? Like, I don't know, man.
Look, I know that like different people have different romantic relationships, but I think that you're not being nearly as deep as you think you are.
It's like, what's exactly the difference between a platonic friend and a lover? Like, the interest in starting a romantic relationship, presumably. Like, that's.
Ooh. Also, he's just not a very likable character yet in general. So
Yeah, well, Kyo's not had a whole lot of moments. I'm waiting for him to show. Like, all right, let's do a tier list right now. Impromptu, Nick. Kyo. Oh God, what was the dude from Nisekoi? Shu?
Raku? Oh,
No,
Shu's way better. Shu's way better than Kyo. Come on.
Wow, really? You
way
hated
better.
Shu. You hated Shu. You were so upset.
I grew to like him a lot, though. So.
All right. We're going to find weird third-wheel dudes in harem series and just start ranking them against each other.
Shu's the glasses guy, right?
Yeah, you hated him, though, because he was like a weird,
maybe initially
annoying pervert.
Yeah, I didn't like that about him, but he got to be a lot better.
That is true. So. I'm shocked you were so quick for it.
Yeah, anyway.
All right.
Do it. Okay, so.
Good chapter. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
The friend of Yuiga's who would take pictures of ice cream.
Yeah, fuck. I was like, was there even a best dude friend in that fucking series?
There was the guy who had a girlfriend and that never got focused on much, but anyway. Yeah.
Now, Nick, I don't want to cut us away from Blue Box.
We have to.
I do want to talk Doron Dororon.
Oh my God.
The rise of Jinchiu. This is where everything gets real big.
They win. All right, they win.
Nick, please. This series is certainly not ending in 2 to 3 weeks. We got to give it the proper due respect of covering how every captain was strong enough to beat every person. And there was a big reveal of Jinchio's captain can get like Super Saiyan hair and kill 2 of them immediately. But he was not the strongest. Shiitake Bataba Badabadaba.
Yeah, he was the strong one.
He was the strongest. That guy's there because he needs time to build up, you know? Because it's like that old, like, can Batman really beat Superman? No, but yeah, because you give him enough prep time. So who really wins, Kitape Babadaba or Jinchio Mentor? And it's like, well, are we figuring, is there prep time for Jinchio Mentor, whatever, Badaba, getting like time to like prep into his sleepy battle state or whatever? Or does Bataka dooba dooba, does he just get to go full on, just go head cracking? Because I think that's going to decide it.
Yeah, you're right, Quinn. That's the important question, and you've answered it. So good job. Yeah. All right, we've taken over the Doron Dororon subreddit with this, the very active Doron Dororon subreddit.
God. Is there?
There has to be.
I know there has to be, but how?
It's made it to 33 chapters. There's a subreddit.
How fucking active can it possibly be? Well, it says there's 5 members online right now, so this is a big deal.
If they're all weekly manga recap listeners, then it doesn't count. So,
so this chapter 33?
Yes, it is.
How many comments do you think the Reddit had on the live or the discussion for the chapter?
6.
You undersold it. There were 10. Thank you very much.
I almost said 12. And I was like, that's too many. All right. So.
I do. The top 3 posts are "We're above Earth, child," which I bar to really clear. One question about why Sleepy Dude's hair was white. And the third one of why I don't think Doron Dororon should get an anime adaptation. And I'm like, you're dreaming it far.
Should?
Yes.
What do you mean should? Can't. Won't.
A choice in the matter. Like, oh, well, maybe.
That's not the verb. Oh, it would be a disservice to the high quality on display in this. Shouldn't. Ginchio runs around buying time. Ice, fire everywhere. She almost gets overwhelmed from both sides. Her mentor deflects them and kills both dudes really fast. And they're like, hey, good job. You overdid it. Hug. The two girls are getting attacked by a water guy. And they burrow underground to escape the water, I guess. No, wait. I don't remember. So then they get surrounded and fucking Tora cuts through them. Boom! Yeah, headshot. And then there's the weird polka dot one that's fighting with the young captain dude.
You're cutting right over the big piece of character detail that they were on a team together at one point. This is important.
All right, they're on a team together. They're on a team together. Polka dots dude gets in close to young samurai guy and punches him in the stomach. And they do this thing that's really weird because he says, yeah, I can read your minds with my ability, which is called a gift for the afterlife, which doesn't sound like a mind reading ability at all, but okay. So it's like, and then Glasses guy is like, hey, young samurai officer guy, you were the youngest ever to become a samurai officer guy, so show him your stuff. I believe in you. Don't let him take off your game. And young samurai officer guy is like, I can't get scared. Who cares if you can read my mind? I just need an attack it can't dodge. And he slashes it towards him. And Polka Dot Guy's like, well, I can just cancel your ability. No, he can't. There's another attack hidden behind it. How did he not read his mind about that? I don't know. So then a Glasses guy takes on Skullface Mononoke guy. And there's and they just, wow, boom, slash. But then a giant fist nearly takes him out. And then Glasses samurai guy is like, you don't get it. We have each other, so we have something worth protecting, and that makes us strong. He cuts off his other hand, and Skull Mononoke says, humans are a mystery, and then he gets killed. And then just offhandedly to let you know,
no one sees.
Just to let you know, the Kitabatake was really important. Glasses guy says Kitabatake died, but he was really important because I would have lost if he hadn't taken that guy's arm. We win. All of the evil Mononoke have been defeated except the ones that Dora and Kusanagi got to fight. And it all happened in one chapter. Woo!
I will say this, in full honesty, it was kind of actually a cool move at the end of like he goes in for his attack, but it's with the arm that was just recently lost. And because of that, the new hero character got to like have like the victory. Like that was actually kind of a cool thing, but like it's lost within a chapter where 4 other characters have to get like defeated, so it just doesn't have like any real impact, unfortunately. But it was kind of a cool moment. That said, the series is like it's flying out. So
yeah.
But we'll always be able to treasure the memories.
I have a puzzle for you, Quinn.
Oh, for me? Go for it.
Puzzle for you.
Go for it.
I don't know about this one, but
I believe in you. Nick, Nick, look at me. I believe in you.
Oh, that makes me feel better. I have a very particular infamous incident in mind when I write this.
Okay.
So,
is particular part of the piece?
I think you could actually potentially figure it out from the first word.
Okay.
But it'll depend on if your mind runs on the same wavelength.
So, am I guessing an event or a wrestler?
It's a wrestler, but okay. I'm making reference to one particular thing that happened. That's kind of infamous.
Okay.
Pikeman's pipe plops. Proceeding punch is painful.
Pikeman's
pipe
plops.
Proceeding punch is painful.
So someone got stiffed. Someone got stiffed real hard.
Yeah.
Pikeman's pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Pikeman's pipe. What would be a pikeman?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think if there's like a different name for a pikeman. Like a soldier, like a Renaissance dude? No. There's no Renaissance dudes. Pikeman's pipe. I'm trying to think of what like a pipe would be in this scenario. Pikeman. Pikeman's a good word. It's confusing me.
It is a good word. I'll give you a hint. What's another word for pike?
Like a spear. Spear person. Oh God, it's not Goldberg, is it?
It is Goldberg.
Oh God.
There's a particular incident that happened in WCW where Goldberg was supposed to look really like a tough, cool, badass guy by smashing a car window, and they were going to do it by hiding a lead pipe in his sleeve, and it fell out of his sleeve. So when he went to smash it, he didn't have the pipe there, so he broke his hand when he did.
For a moment, that's the better version. I was thinking also of another grave injury that happened in WCW that's not as fun.
Nope, and we'll never forget about that one because Bret Hart keeps on reminding us about it, and Goldberg's like, well, I'm a really good guy for forgiving him. Being mean to me. All right. Anyway,
this guy's a relatively new wrestler. Which one thing you should do? How about he just throws out a kick right behind him in his blind spot sometimes?
And Bret Hart proclaims, just don't hurt me with the forehand. What a disaster. God.
Goldberg
all right.
Let's talk about
PPPPP. Chapter 43. On to round 2. So Reijiro very clearly beat Saiba in that matchup. Everyone kind of knows it, except, I mean, like, there's a few people in the crowd who are like, I liked Rin's better, but that's always going to happen. As the scores are being tallied up, Reijiro does not even bother to stick around because Saiba is heading outside, and Reijiro rushes to catch up with him. And Reijiro doesn't really know what to say first, so Saiba says, thanks for playing seriously. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted to apologize. And he goes to pass him on the steps, and Reijiro, as they're face-to-face, just says, it's okay. Which, of course, stuns him. He's like, look, no, everything's fine. The violence, the lies, the razor blades, I can handle it now. Whatever's thrown my way, I'm totally fine. And I'm the one who should apologize because I didn't do my best that day, and I'm really sorry. And you got banished, so we're even. So you can still be the same Saiba you used to be. And Saiba says, like, I mean, thank you, but this is goodbye. And we cut to the crowd a little bit as we're going over how, people were reacting to it and stuff. And the note that we end on is someone commenting that Saiba was banished by Gakuan Otogami because, of course, he took his mask off for the performance. And Reijiro is worried that Saiba's going to quit playing piano. He asks if it's because he was banished. And Saiba says, it's not that, but I want to stop. This is something you'll never understand. The results are that Reijiro freaking creamed him. He won 83% of the votes. And we cut back to the two again. Reijiro says, yeah, I probably won't understand, but let me say something before we part. I hope one day you'll walk ahead of me on the way home at dusk again. Aw, they still want to be friends, but they can't for now. Mimin and Maloli are watching this from a balcony above them. And Mimin's like, he's going to quit, isn't he? And Maloli says, yes, but if he's no longer suffering, then there's nothing wrong with that, right? And Mimin says, you're talking to me now! Which, yeah, she's kind of been in Maloli's face like the entire time they've been here. So yeah, that's a bit of a breakthrough there. And Maloli starts to say something, but Mimin has already caught on to it, which is, you're here to end your suffering too. And Maloli says, yeah, Reijiro Otogami said that he doesn't understand, but do you understand how other people do? How other people feel, rather. And Mimin says, nope, but you said you were suffering. Suffering sucks, right? Suffering sucks, Atash. Two of them go out to take the stage to compete they're going to be performing Love's Joy. And we get big, coming onto the stage panels for both of them as they take the stage. And yeah, round 2 is coming. That just like the chapter said. So
yeah, I think it's, some good stuff.
Yeah, I think the chapter itself was all right, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, like, okay, here we go. These two who we've gotten to know a lot of and have a very messy rivalry. I'm very curious to see what's going on there.
Yeah,
so
good stuff. I like it. I'm excited for this next matchup. It's gonna be good times. Yeah. All right, Nick. Let's talk about Mashle, Magic and Muscles, Chapter 118, Renames and the Determined Decision. So we open with Delisaster, who has been cut up, whose body is just repairing it, and he's like, "Yeah, turns out you're the one who was all talk. I thought you'd be tough, but now I see, because all these scales just fell from my eyes. Check it out." And Finn's like, "What the fuck? He did all this effort for a joke that bad?" And Rain's like, "This is true." I feel like he's like, "Yeah, totes, we're descended from fish, which is where the scales come from." Rain's like, "So I have scales too?" And Finn shouts from his fucking jail, like, "No, you don't, Rain!" Nelly says, like, "Yo, bro, you're great. This is a blast. That's why I love ultimately messing then killing you guys. Like, it's great. Like, fucking awesome. I've done it 300 times. That's 300 stiffs done in by yours truly. I'm not like those normies out there. They got legends about me. I'm the real deal. I go sicko.
They got legends about me.
Yeah, they got legends about me, brah." Right, it's like, "You talk too much.
You talk too much."
It's the real Arnold Schwarzenegger mode. He's like, "You talk too much. I will kill you." He throws a bunch of swords. Delisaster knocks them all down, though, and then he fires off a blade that just pierces straight through Rain, or it looks like it at least hits him. And Rain uses that momentum to carry himself into create a sword that he uses to surf through the air and surf back onto the attack, which may be the coolest thing I've ever seen in existence ever. The sword gets very close to Delisaster, but Delisaster has another counter, and Rain gets impaled on a wall. Finn's like, "Please let me help Rain." Rain's like, "Quiet, you just get in the way." They go for a big square off. It doesn't end well. Rain's hurt, and Delisaster just says, "Hey, man, look." He actually says, "Lol." In their translation, "Lol,
can you stop losing already?"
He's like, "I got some bad news for you. We all gave our hearts to fathers, so we made us these demon hearts to replace them. They convert magic hour into energy that keeps us healed up, so we can't die unless our magical power is exhausted. And thanks to a little dose of father's blood, we never run out of magic, which means I'm broken." He actually says it in, "You're up against an OP boss scrub," but yeah, you get the gist. And Finn, of course, is like, "This is crazy. Now we know why the other Divine Visionaries couldn't make a dent. Like, we have to withdraw. He's unbeatable like this." And Rain hears that and is like, "Unbeatable? I don't care." And he stands up. We get a little flashback of a doctor telling a young Rain, like, "Hey, sorry to inform you." And we don't know exactly what happened there, but it's pretty clear to say that Rain lost their parents there. And little Finn's just like, "Why aren't Dad and Mom coming back? Don't they like us anymore?"
"Big brother, I think that neither of us should ever get a different haircut."
Yeah.
We can't afford a haircut, so that's irrelevant.
So while the fight is happening in real time, we just continue this flashback. Basically, this clashing of swords happening in the background of this whole little thing. And Rain is thinking whether we have parents, you know, and one of their relatives being like, Are you trying to eat us out of house and home? You'd be thankful to have a roof over your head." Little Finn being like, "We have to move again. I'll have to make all new friends." And it's like, whether we had food, whether we had a place to live. And you can see that they had shots of them living on the streets, making a cardboard shelter to protect them from the rain. Finn being like, "Rain, why aren't we normal like everyone else? Why are Mom and Dad gone? Why are we the only ones suffering like this? Whether we're normal." And then we get a flashback of him speaking with Wahlberg, who says, "You wish to become a divine visionary to create a world in which orphans are treated equally? You will face fierce backlash from society."
Listen, if we can't treat orphans like shit, then what do we even have magic for?
Yeah, dude, the magic world blows. like there's some dudes just like, "Well, we gotta give orphans equal rights. This is fucking crazy." Like, I don't know. Your orphan platform it's gonna take some time to go over, you know?
Without orphans you can freely abuse, where am I going to get my daily walking child kicking in?
Rain just says none of that matters. Summon Ares, god of war, and he activates his Bankai. And Deli Saster's like, cool trick, I'll use mine. Athena, god of combat, activates his Bankai. And they go and they square. And My Hero Academia has a cameo, Gigantomachia, and there's a giant slash. And Rain's spear is cut into pieces. And he hits the ground. And we just see Deli Sester saying he's shielding his body with magic to prevent any fatal injuries, but there's no way he has the power left to protect himself. Welp, so long, or whatever. And his sword hits the ground. Deli Sester just says, stiff number 301. My pole arms are like too good at smooshing people. And he's like, did I go too hard though? And Rain interrupts him and says, you talk too damned much. You and I are still fighting. And Finn's like, Rain. And he just keeps remembering this. You're going to face backlash from society. The path of the divine visionary is a steep one. Are you determined to see this through, Rain Ames? And Rain just says, I don't crack jokes like you do, but I always do what I say, and I will kill you. And he grabs onto what remains of his Bankai.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very cool.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Black Clover's back, baby!
Black Clover, Nick, page 332, final declaration. We get a big 2-page color spread showing Asta and Yuno.
Look at that big triumphant return they're making.
I like Nick who likes Black Clover. This is like a new fun Nick I like.
Look, the shit that we've been reading while Black Clover's been gone.
Nick, what are you talking about? You don't love Aliens area?
No.
You don't love
No, I don't.
Dororon?
In particular, the shit action series that we've gotten while Black Clover's been away.
Yeah. So we open in the 7th level of the underworld as Lucifero's like, I am Lucifero, the king of devils.
Help me out, bro.
Yeah, come on.
Be a bro.
Be cool. Be cool. He's like, my magical power was the greatest in the world. And, God, I forget this character's fucking name. We're going to call him Zoot Suit because I don't remember it right now. Zoot Suit's like, in this world, we are the ones with the most brilliant magic. We humans. And literally grabs Lucifero's heart. We cut over.
And takes a bite out of it.
Yes. It has been a year and 3 months since the Spade Kingdom War. I know it's the Wizard King, but there's another name that character goes by now. I forget what it is.
Yeah. It's
well,
because it's also not the Wizard King.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's a big announcement. We will hereby conduct an extraordinary, special, distinguished service ceremony. Asta, the Black Bulls. And we see a whole bunch of characters have gathered in honor of Asta, including the sister and all the people from the orphanage he grew up at.
Yeah, it's a nice little cameos. You know, all of Asta and Yuno's younger siblings, the priest who's at the church and stuff. And it's like, oh, look, they came for their boy.
Yeah. They announced that they are granting him the title of Senior Magic Knight First Class. It is essentially the highest rank you can achieve until you basically become a captain. So they're like, yes, your achievements must be acknowledged, and you are being rewarded by the captain. So you've almost reached that dream of yours. And all the captains are attendants who matter. The purple orca one's not there, because who gives a shit?
That's right. Even Dorothy Unsworth and Real got to show up, but fuck that purple orcas guy who doesn't matter.
I don't even remember what purple orca leader is in control of the guild anymore. Like,
it's the mustache dude, isn't it?
I thought he was evil. Yeah, it is the mustache. Kaiser. Yeah, that's right. Good times. Good times. Anyway, everyone's there. They're celebrating. Fuego Leon is there to give us like extra context. Like, oh yeah, has become actually a Grand Magic Knight. Like you should have been granted an equal title, but And Asta's just like, having, outrank me is frustrating, but we're not at our goal yet, so it's okay. And real bitches, because he's like, he broke my record for youngest Grand Magical Knight.
Nobody cares. Go draw some fucking flowers.
Leon rules. He got so much cooler. He was already pretty sweet. They're like, so where do you think the Wizard King has gone? They're like, oh, you think he could be indulging in his hobby of wandering around in disguise? But who knows? And Asta,
so nobody knows what the fuck happened to him, which makes fucking sense because all the witnesses to it died. Yeah. So
Asta is just like, hey, Fuego Leon, I heard they recommended you and Captain Nozel and Lady Mary Leona as candidates for the next Wizard King. And Nozel's like, we all decline. That matter's on hold for now. Fighting the devils made us painfully aware of how little strength we have. Although Mary Leona said it'd just be too much trouble for her, so she probably is not going to do it. So I was like, yeah, all right, fair, I suppose. Those would probably be the 3 most likely candidates. For both the Spade Kingdom and the Heart Kingdom, recovery is in sight. Peace is gradually coming to the continent, but we can't be careless. Even now, we're detecting devil-like activity in the outlying regions of the Clover Kingdom. Other members of the Golden Dawn and other Black Bull members have experience with them, so they've gone to investigate. We see the Black Bull headquarters literally going off to go do that stuff. We have Yami show up and is like, hey, thanks for showing up for my boy. And Great Hero Jack the Ripper's like, I'm going to kill him one day.
What the fuck is this guy? What is his why?
I'm gonna kill him one day. Like,
he's not even charming when he says he's going to kill people. It's like,
no. Charlotte's there and goes, and just fucking bolts out of the room.
Oh man, she's been learning from the master Taiki Inamata on how to deal with situations.
Yami goes, what's up with Charlotte?
This is the best scene in this chapter. This might be the best scene this week.
Yeah, he's like, what's going on with Charlotte? She's been like that for a year ever since the Spade Kingdom. Did I screw up somehow? And Finral's like, what are you talking about? After she told you she loved you when you're at death's door, you mean nothing's changed between you? And he just has like a little bubble to the side. It's like, I've been meaning to ask you about it. I was just too scared. Yeah, he's like, nature's calling. Gotta poop. Turns around, he's like, wait, Charlotte is a thing for me. And I love... He is actually taking a shit. He was not lying.
I have to go to my thinking place.
He actively was like, I gotta take a shit while this is happening. But he truly was so dense he did not pick up on this.
See, this is the important difference between Black Clover and Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man has important internal conversations that happen while other people are taking a shit. Black Clover has the people taking a shit have the important internal conversations.
This is like affect and affect. This is how you understand.
This is the 3rd reference to shit we've had in the manga we've covered this week.
And it's not the funniest. I'm sorry, but Eden Zero was really, really funny. He's like, fuck. That's crazy. Wait, is she just gonna be like that? And actually, and I like Finral's like, everyone's leaving. That's
so long.
Are you okay?
It's a very important shit that he's taking. Okay.
Asta sees the sister, and he's like, "This is it. Today's the day. I'm gonna." And we cut over to Noelle and Mimosa. We're both simultaneously saying, oh my God, we have feelings for him. This is crazy. This is like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're really self-conscious since then. And Sekre walks up and whispers something into both of their ears. And they're like, wait, oh my God, Asta's confessing his love. Oh my God, what could that mean? Is it to me? Oh my God, to whom? And I love Sekre just sits there with a blank expression. It just says, this is entertaining. The person he's confessing to is, of course, the sister. He does the actual rooftop confession thing. And he says, sister, please marry me. I'm 18 now. This is the last time I'll propose to you. I swear I'll make you happy. Please say yes. And, of course, Noelle and Mimosa are like, oh, my God, what? And the sister just says, thank you, Asta, but I'm sorry. You're like family to me. My dashing, cute little brother. I really can't marry you. And Asta stops for a moment. He says, yeah, I knew that, but I just couldn't give up. I do know that people can't always change the way they feel. So Please watch over this unchanging vow of mine. He says, I'm going to be the Wizard King. Mm-hmm. And the sister's just
come on, Quinn, do it like Asta. Come on.
I'm going to become the Wizard King.
I'm going to win the Pokemon League.
Yeah. No. He puts a moon on his head to make sure he can eat all of his dreams. He's like, I don't remember how to hit people with a sword anymore. The sister just says, Asta, you're truly amazing. I'm sorry I was never able to tell you this, but at this point I can. And she says, I know you'll be able to do it. And then who should show up but Zoot Suit, who says, congratulations, you've arrived. This is your final destination.
That's right. I brought the franchise back with my unlimited magical power. Your final destination. It's basically, it's a POV final destination movie, which is very awkward because there are multiple deaths in Final Destination, so I had to kill several cameramen is my point. So
the crazy thing is that a couple of them, you won't actually even know what kills you because like a truck would hit you and it comes out of nowhere. So you don't even see it. You're dead. It's crazy. It's weird. It's real avant-garde. Anyway, you can find it on Netflix. There's different, you make different choices. You hit different buttons and you choose the different ways you die. You die in all of them. To be very clear, you don't escape Final Destination unless it's to die in the sequel. So...
Also, I did eat a demon's heart. Just wanted to put that out there.
By the way, do you like my enormous sweater dress? Like, it's one long sweater that's a dress. It is fabulous. It seems like it might be warm out for it. Like, it looks like the environment's kind of hot out right now, but I'm evil. So
we're right by the ocean, so it's probably humid as fuck. So
I wasn't actually intending to introduce myself here. I was going to go to the restroom first, but someone's been pooping in there for like 35 minutes now. I feel like someone should go in and check on them. Like, they might just be thinking things out, but it is rude. And I eat a demon's heart, as established earlier, so I would know rude. But really,
sorry, my name is Phil.
Phil Dover.
Yeah, I really like this chapter. I like that we see that Asta has actually matured a little bit. It's nice that it shuts the door on this horrible idea for a ship. And that it just lays out finally where this is just like, Asta, you're like my little brother. Like, would I marry you? And we get some, ominous stuff. I actually do kind of like the way that the romantic reveal that Charlotte had with Yami is handled, where Yami's like, wait, that happened? Just didn't realize it. No one's brought it up since then. It feels honestly appropriate. And the purple Orcas guy wasn't there, which is appropriate. So,
yeah.
Oh, good stuff.
Good stuff.
All right. And we're going to close finally with chapter 1055 of One Piece, The New Era. People are dreaming. Don't give it up.
Goku. No, wait, you give up your dream.
You give up. Your dream is awful, and it depends on the oppression of people. So, Momonosuke is leading the fight against Ryogoku and is demanding that Yamato not step in. Yamato, of course, is like, why not? And Momonosuke is like, just you can't, and gets thrown against the ground. Others try and jump in, like Raizo, and who hits him with a bunch of fire. And Ryogoku's like, nah, I'm really strong. Come on. I'm a wood guy. Yeah, I'm not going to be weak to fire. I've practiced against that. And he immediately drains the water out of Raizo. So that's cool. Ow. And he's just, throwing people around as they're trying to attack him. Every time that they chop through a vine, he just comes back with more vines. We cut away to to Sukiyaki's secret chamber beneath the palace, and then beneath Sukiyaki's secret chamber. And so he is going downstairs along with Law and Robin. And So there's some weird talk between them, but whatever. I don't really follow it. Sukiyaki says, "Yeah, I've never told Kaijo or Orochi about the secret route, but because Jack, the lead performer, was a fishman, they discovered the poneglyph in quick order." And Robin's like, "Why would being a fishman make that easy?" "Oh, well, I'll show you. There's a window here. We're underwater, and look, it's Wano at the bottom of the sea. The Wano of 800 years ago. A different Wano." And he says, "Whatever happened in the past is unclear to me. The fact that this is not seawater probably explains its good preservation. What it means is there was once a Wano with an enormous Fuji mountain, and at some point, great walls grew around the island, and it filled up with rainwater. The people had to abandon their flooded towns and instead created new land on the side of the mountain for a new country." And so current Wano, yes, is above a bowl that contains old Wano. Okay.
I mean, it does make
Why
sense
not?
with the geography that we knew of Wano to a certain extent. Like everything
Like
was
the
a
waterfall.
giant waterfall you had to climb. So
Yes.
and
So
adds to the lore. Why is the world like that? Ooh, void century.
Sukiyaki leads them to the road poneglyph, the third one that the Straw Hats have discovered. And Ramen's like, "Okay, if we get one more, we can find Laugh Tale." And Sukiyaki says, "Further down into the earth, where the ancient weapon Pluton is set to rest. I have never seen it myself, and I cannot show it to you. In order to retrieve Pluton, the walls will need to be torn down. So opening the borders means destroying the country's natural defense and unleashing an ancient weapon onto the world." So, yeah, that's a big thing. And Robin's like, "Well, then why did Odin want to do that if it means all this bad stuff?" And Sukiyaki says, "Look, I could not tell you what Odin learned in his travels abroad. So, ooh, does this have to do with the One Piece?" Ryogoku is talking some big smack while in his fight. He says, like, "Look, the one thing that was preventing me from coming here was Kaido's presence. Kaido's rule was a deterrent that kept your enemies away from this land. Now bring me Straw Hat Luffy. I'll kill him and then I'll be on my way." So Yamato is trying to get Momonosuke to agree to, let himself and also the Straw Hats fight, and says, "Hey, come on, they can beat this guy." But Momonosuke says, "Look, that's not an option, and I'm not going to ask for your help either. You have been trapped in Onigashima for all this time. This is your chance to be free. So I'm giving you a proper send-off. Luffy, Zoro, the rest, I've had them fighting my battles for me all this time, and we're the ones who have to stay behind in our country. We must be able to drive off any enemy. If we must ask for help from those about to leave, we will never be able to protect Wano."
Yamato is leaving, Nick.
Yeah. But where would he be leaving to?
Interesting. Who else would be leaving that maybe he would have to join up with or something like that?
Phil. Phil's leaving.
Oh, he's gonna be the new Phil. Okay.
Yeah.
The new Phil hat. Okay, gotcha.
So Momonosuke once again tries to use a breath weapon, puffs out smoke, ineffective. Ryogoku starts to mock him, and Momonosuke is just like, "Just be gone!" and unleashes a giant laser that goes right through Ryogoku's chest, which shocks even Momonosuke, of course, because he wasn't really expecting it to work. And as Ryogoku is knocked on his ass and all of the Akazaya 9 are freed, they're like, "Holy shit, you've got dragon power now." Momonosuke keeps on unleashing breath weapons, although unfortunately he hasn't really mastered aim with it yet, they observe, but he just keeps on fucking shooting breath weapons at Ryogoku, whose body burns up, and he has to essentially immediately resurrect himself from a little sprout nearby. And he's like, fine! But you suck compared to Kaido, so I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
But there's this huge crackle of energy that comes out from out in the coast, and he feels Supreme King Haki affecting him, and it seems to actually hurt him even. And he realizes, shit, are the red-haired pirates here? And we do indeed cut out to Shanks' ship, and he's apparently just kind of like randomly unleashing Haki. And he says, look, I'm not accusing you of fighting dirty, but when the new shoots that just changed pirate history are exhausted from their feet, don't you think that what you're doing is a bit much? Are you that afraid of the new era? And obviously there's more to it than just that. You know, Shanks is thinking about his time with Luffy. He's thinking about memories with Odin and with Odin's entire family. The fact that this guy means a threat to the children that he got to know and stuff. And so he's like, fuck off.
And don't forget.
Yeah, there's a little
the silhouette of a character coming from the new One Piece movie.
Yeah. Let's not think about that at all. No. One Piece Red coming soon. So what was her name? Forget.
I don't know. Utna or something shit like that. I don't care.
Anyway. So Ryogoku's like, well, I'm not gonna fight you guys yet anyway. Fine. And he just runs off. So Momonosuke and Yamato and the others celebrate their victory. We cut over to the main festival happening in town. A bunch of the Straw Hats are celebrating with Hiyori and Otoko and everyone. But we see that Shanks, Zoro, Luffy, and Jinbei we're all kind of watching the conflict between Ryogoku and all the samurai. And they were just kind of like watching everything. And while they're watching all this stuff, they're like, hey, Momo did a pretty good job, huh? And they also, Jinbei comments on, hey, there was some really powerful Haki that was being thrown around too. What was up with that? And Luffy says to himself, it made me think of a familiar face. And that is our chapter.
I love that little detail that, like, basically the super strong members of the Straw Hat Pirates all recognized this was happening, but didn't. Mm-hmm. They were just like, we're going to wait and see what happens. And then they were like, well, we don't need to. It's like a cool moment to show that, like, they're really cool and they're proud of their friends.
Yeah.
I like it. I liked it a lot. I love Shanks just being cool. Like, I think that's just a supremely awesome moment. This was like a nice little diversion of a couple chapters, and everyone got to look kind of cool at the end of it. So good stuff.
Yeah. And Shanks didn't even have to really do anything. He'd show up and was like, you want some? No? All right.
I mean,
did my thing, leaving now.
I am pretty fucking hyped that we're going to be, I mean, there's nothing left to do except kind of deal with like Shanks, Blackbeard, technically Buggy, like all that stuff's just going to happen. We're just going to start dealing with that.
Celestial dragons and the government being shit and stuff. Yeah. So
like, I know we probably have like another 5 years or so of One Piece, but like it's exciting shit.
It's supposed to be 3. We'll see.
Good luck. I wish all the best, Oda.
Good luck. Apparently he's been keeping his schedule, but we'll see. So yeah. All right. That is going to do it for One Piece and for Weekly Manga Recap. Thanks, guys, for helping us get through all the series and Pokemon and stuff that we had to get through. We're here at the end. Quinn, what was your favorite series this week? And who's your MVP?
I think my favorite series is going to be... I think it's Akane-banashi, because I really did like the sentiment of the way they shifted it around, and it suddenly became a much more emotional story. I do sincerely enjoy that. So I'm going to give it to Akane-banashi.
I think I'm going to agree. There was no shortage of good picks this week. Undead Unluck was good. Chainsaw Man was good. We had, of course...
Doron Dororon.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Good blue box build up and, cool stuff in Mashle. I even like Black Clover a lot. Yeah. and One Piece was good. But yeah, I'm going to agree with you and say that Akane-banashi, I was hyped to see how Akane's performance was going to start. It took this very heartfelt direction, and I am here for it. Also here for all the different people who are all coming out and saying, "Hey guys, you should read Akane-banashi. It's really good." Because it's like Oda, creators of like Evangelion and all these other popular series, like, "Hey, this series is good," and it is. So
yeah,
hype. And my favorite character for this week is, I'm going to go with Tatiana from Undead Unluck. I really like the, picky swear thing that she does with Fuko, and this idea that, she's happy even though she knows she's probably going to die now because she's with her friends. So,
yeah, it's good stuff. I will give my MVP to Rain. I did like Tatiana a lot, and usually my rule is like, if it got me to cry, I give it the vote, but it didn't get quite there. However, it was still very emotional, but I want to give it to Rain because I think it was a very cool chapter for Rain.
Yes. Of course, we have to acknowledge that none of this would have been possible without Kitabatake. So that's the real MVP right there.
Rest in peace, King.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Guys, that is going to do it. Oh, sorry. What was he?
I want the Black Panther 2 trailer. It's just that topic guy is fucking dead.
It's the giant poster in the background.
Yeah, everything gonna be all right. It's just the one to be like, oh, it actually wasn't that hard to kill these guys. I just killed 2 of them once. Never mind, we are gonna be all right, everybody.
The movie's just 5 minutes long. Oh, God. All right. So that is going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. Sorry, did you announce the audience vote?
Sorry. The audience recommendation or the audience picks was Akane-banashi and Tatiana, a mix of us. Or I guess just you.
It was just me. Yeah.
For some reason, I was like, yeah, Nick gave his.
You're just trying to trying to hone in on my thing. Yeah. So, guys, that's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap this week. Thank you for sticking with us through this long recording. The recording and other episodes will be up on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com and on youtube.com/weeklymangarecap if you want the video version. If you want to know when the live version is going to be streamed, you can check us out on Twitter. That's twitter.com/RoloT. Nick F. Time, WMR Podcast. We'll send out an alert saying when it's going live. You can also follow our Discord server where an alert will also be sent out. And you can also talk about people as the week is going on and you're waiting for your new fix of Weekly Manga Recap, because when the chapters come out, there's discussions. People talk about the recommendation that we take. More on that later. And all sorts of other stuff. And also you can use that to find the Google Doc maintained by Ninja X3i, which keeps track of all sorts of statistics associated with the show, including a place where you can look at series that we have previously covered in the long history of the podcast, as well as make your own recommendations for series for us to talk about and cover extensively on an episode of the show. We also want to thank everyone who supports us on patreon.com/weekly manga recap, where you can find bonus content associated with the show. And we want to thank Steve Man, title cardist, whose work you can find on some of the title cards on our YouTube channel, and just more stuff wherever boobs are generally allowed to be drawn on the internet, including on his Twitter, twitter.com/SteveManArt. And we also want to thank Milo Jack Stillitz and Winslow Cheddar for creating the opening sequence, the new, by the way, opening sequence of Weekly Manga Recap, updated with new references and more timely jokes and series and stuff. And it's great. Thank you guys for your hard work on that. And that should do it. So, Quinn, what series are we going to talk about next?
So, Nick, recently I had a package delivered to your house.
I only just put that together that this was what it was going to be.
Nick, would you like to open that package right now? And you can let everybody know exactly what we're going to be talking about. Got this
package.
And you don't know. This is not a bit. Nick does not know.
I literally have no idea.
When you open it and it's full of spiders, and then I'm like, actually, you're going to be doing your Yakuza show, and you're just like, spiders everywhere.
Clearly see that the package is still sealed. I haven't torn it off. So this is an actual reveal. And I don't know why Quinn has done this.
That's
It could be a good reason. It could be a horrible reason.
Oh, you open it, it's just like Yu-Gi-Oh, Nick.
So here we go. Oh, no.
Nick, could you please show it for the camera so the people?
You done with me?
Dick Fight Island, everybody. We're going to Dick Fight Island.
Why did you send me these?
Because you can't buy them online in a digital format.
I'm very concerned about the expression that this boy is making.
Well, you're gonna read it and find out why.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.